Hello and welcome to Six Part. Today I'm gonna start a new movie. What if Deku became the Joker? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
You said that Izuku Midoriya was a pure child. He wants to be a hero and is helpful, kind, thoughtful, and didn't care about himself. Another group of kids his age wanted to be heroes, but they only wanted the fame and money that came with it. It was Izuku's only goal to become a hero and save people, just like All Might. Besides that, he also loves to watch other brave people. He even wrote down in notebooks about their quirks, including what made them good and bad and how to make them better. Even though he had all of these traits, he knew that everyone was born equal because, well, he has no quirks. He was very excited to find out if he had manifested a quirk, which is where it all began. The doctor told him to give up when he got the results, though. The doctor didn't try to hide it and told him that he couldn't use a quirk. For the 4-year-old, the news was very sad. He went to the computer to watch his favorite video clip when he got home. In his first video, All Might saved 100 people while making them smile. Izuku wished to be like him all the time. It was always his goal to make people smile and save them. It seemed like All Might was the perfect hero for him. As Izuku watched the video some more, he said, "Mom, I want to be just like him, is that possible?" The 4-year-old was scared because his mother didn't say anything. "Mom," he asked with tears in his eyes, "I can be a hero, right?" His mother began to cry and hugged him while saying, "I'm sorry," over and over. That day, his mind began to break down, and it might have been able to change the course of events for both good and bad people. After 10 years, a teacher threw a stack of paper into the air and said, "Okay, students, I'm going to hand out career forms. Though you all want to join the hero section, don't you?" The class began to show off their quirks as he did this. Another person who didn't do this was Izuku Midoriya himself. The first was a man with sandy ash blonde hair who had his feet up on the desk. Ua was on his mind as he quietly thought about how he was going to get in. As he thought, a voice cut through the silence like a knife. My friend Katsuki Bakugo, who used to be Izuku's friend but is now a bully, had that voice. "Oi, don't put me with these fucking extras," Katsuki yelled, putting one foot on his desk to show that he was in charge. "You can't compare me these losers with their weak-ass quirks." A student with long fingers yelled, "Hey, who are you calling extras, you jerk?" Someone else with hair that looked like gravel yelled, "Yeah, what makes you think you're better than us?" "Ah, I almost forgot." Bakugo applied to go to Ua, the teacher said, stopping the class in its tracks. "You mean the best hero school in Japan? Isn't its entrance exam so hard that it's almost impossible to get in?" asked a tall student. "Yes, and I got an A on my practice test," Katsuki yelled as he showed off his quirk by making explosions come out of his hands. "I'm going to be the greatest hero and surpass All Might as the #1 hero." Only one person didn't cheer for him while everyone else did. Katsuki was thinking one thing, but Izuku was thinking something else. He thought to himself, "You're not a hero, Kachan. You pick on the weak and defenseless. You're a villain, not a hero." The teacher asked, "Now that I bring it up, Midoriya also wants to go to AU." Everyone stopped and looked at Izuku. After that, they started to make fun of him and laugh at him. He didn't like how everyone laughed at him and made fun of him. It made him hate it with a passion. Ring. When the bell rang, it meant that class was over. Izuku was the only one left in the room as everyone else left to go home. It took him longer than planned to pack up and leave without a fuss, but life had other ideas. Katsuki and his guards walked into the room. He went up to him and took his hero analyze notebook. Izuku screamed when Katsuki grabbed the notebook. "What the hell is this shit?" he yelled as he read it. "Hero analysis for the future, you think you're better than me, Deku." As he tried to get the notebook back, Izuku begged, "No, I don't think you're better than me, Kachan. I just think with that I could try, but please give me that back." Katsuki slapped his hands together just as Izuku was about to grab it. The outside pages of the notebook were burned and scorched by a small explosion. After that, he threw it out the window. Even though Izuku screamed and tried to catch it, it was too late. It had already gone outside and into a pond. Katsuki put her hand on his shoulder just as he was about to leave. He could feel smoke escaping from his fingers. He set him on fire. Izuku tried to act brave, but the pain made it hard. While giving him a creepy smile, Katsuki said, "I'll tell you how to get a quirk. Do a swan dive off the roof and hope you can get a quirk in your next life." He laughed and left, leaving Izuku to think about what a real hero is. Scene change. A tunnel. Izuku took a different way back home to avoid the mean kid who used to pick on him. He heard a dripping sound coming from behind him as he walked. Just as he was about to turn around, a greenish liquid poured over his feet. "Great, a shield made of human meat," the liquid said. Izuku started to get scared because he knew this person was bad. He tried to fight, but it didn't work because he wasn't strong enough. He was almost submerged, and he was also beginning to lose consciousness. "It'll all be over soon," the slime bad guy laughed. Just before he fell asleep, he heard someone yell. Texas smash. From Izuku's point of view, I felt like I was lost or floating. There was a sense that someone had shut down my reality and I was being sucked into something else. I found it really exciting in some way. After that, I hear a voice calling to me. "Excuse me, young lad." I couldn't believe it when I opened my eyes. It was him. My role model and hero. It was All Might. He told him, "I hope everything is okay with you, young man." He smiled confidently. I was tracking down this villain when I lost him in these tunnels. He then showed me the bad guy who was stuck in a bottle. I had nothing to say. I had nothing to say to him. He spoke up first, which was good for me. He asked me, "I found this notebook. Is it yours?" What he said made me do nothing but nod my head. He then took out a pencil and opened it to any page. I was shocked when he signed it. After that, he gave me my notebook back. "This is my apology to you for not coming here on time," he said. "Now I must be off. Goodbye, young lad." When I calmed down, he was about to leave. I could ask my hero if someone without quirks like me could become a hero. When I grabbed his leg without thinking, I thought it would get his attention, but he didn't. "Why am I here? This is crazy, right? Will he even see me?" He asked me. "Hey, what are you doing down there?" as I held his leg. He finally got it now. I asked him, "Could we please land somewhere? I need to ask you something." Upon landing near a building's roof, he yelled, "All right, hang on." Oh my god. This is not possible at this time. He asked me, "Okay, young man, what was so important that you chose to do that little trick?" As I let go and turned to face him. I wished to know if I could also become a hero. "Is it possible to become a hero even without a quirk?" he asked me. "Wait your QURI. As he was about to ask me, there was a cloud of smoke that covered the whole area. As smoke got into my lungs, I coughed. What the heck was that? As soon as the smoke cleared, I could see again. What I saw shocked me and made me doubt myself. What I saw in front of me wasn't All Might, but a man who looked very unhealthy and was bleeding from his mouth. "What come about All Might?" I asked the thin man. Where did All Might go?" "I'm All Might," he said as he wiped his mouth clean. He lifts his shirt to show me a scar that is so bad it's hard to describe. "I had an accident with a bad guy a while back. The villain got me good, but I survived at a terrible cost though," he said quietly. He looked around for a moment before saying, "As for your question," I believed he would say yes. The next thing he said broke my world. "No, I don't think you can become a hero," he said. "It's nice to dream, but you need to dream realistically, kid." "Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. It was your job to say, yes you can become a hero. Not break my dreams like everyone else. Not look down on me like everyone else. Not laugh at me like everyone else. You. I yelled at him, "Hypocrite." From the look on his face, I can tell he wasn't ready to hear that. "I'm sorry," I told him, cutting him off before he could lie to me again. "You're just like everyone else. Everyone looks down at me telling me I should just give up hope. I thought you were different, but now I know. You're like every other superhero." I yelled at him, letting out all of my anger and pain. After I was done, I ran. I ran as fast as I could to get away from that liar, and from the look on his face, he wasn't going to stop me. As I ran, I had one thought in my head. What did I do to deserve this pain? From Izuku's point of view. I kept running until I got to my apartment building. I rushed to the door, opened it, and then slammed it shut. My mom heard the sound while she was having a mini heart attack in the kitchen. She looked at me with worry after she got over it. "Izuku honey," she asked in a worried tone, "is something the matter?" It hurt me that she could read my mind. How did she know what I did wrong? Even though she seemed to understand me, she could never help me with my issues. I couldn't stand to look at the person who thought less of me. Who was the first person to stop me from following my dream? "I don't need you right now. Get away from me, please." She walked up to me with a small knife in her hand and said, "Honey, it's okay. You can tell me." It's possible that she forgot to put it on the counter. "You can tell me anything, sweetheart. I'll understand." "You won't get it, though. Please just get away from me, Izuku," she said as she put her shoulder to mine. After that, something happened. I just broke down inside. Something I did changed the way I feel about life. The knife was in my mom's hand, and I took it and cut her neck open wide. It was like something hit her, and she just stared at me in shock. She put something over her wound, but blood kept coming out of her neck. She did this for another 30 seconds or so, until her eyes got cloudy and her hand sat on the floor. It took me about a minute to figure out what had just happened. What I had just done became clear to me quickly. I killed my mother. I killed her without mercy. I began to worry. I was shaking so badly I looked like a leaf. I looked at the bloody small knife for a while. I had a lot of thoughts going through my head. What did I do? How could I do that? And not even to my own mother. What makes life? It dawned on me. Life always finds a way to hurt me. Every day being made fun of because I don't have any quirks, my ex-idol telling me to dream realistically, and now me killing my mother. In some way, it was all a cruel joke on me. That's it, yes, it's all a joke. It was always a joke. Everything I ever worked for or fought for was just a crazy, monster-filled joke that kept playing over and over. As I thought about this, I began to laugh in a silly way. I quickly started to giggle, which quickly turned into full-on laughter. It made me laugh to think that life was all one big joke, and no one else knew this. It dawned on me then. I was the only one who really knew how life is. I quickly came up with an idea. No one said I couldn't be a bad guy, but they also never said I couldn't be a hero. I could show Kachan, All Might, and everyone else that the world was a huge joke. Even so, a question came to my broken mind. What am I going to call myself? What am I going to look like? Then I thought of how much I loved seeing All Might smile. Make a face. Make a face. Just smile. I knew what to do. As soon as I put down the knife, I ran to the bathroom to do something so crazy that I almost passed out again. Why can't I smile like All Might does while I work? I bit down on the knife. Oh, I was scared and excited at the same time. As I slowly moved the knife across my left cheek, I cut it deeply. The blood started to flow down my low face. As I kept cutting my cheek, I could feel the pain tearing through it. It's so nice to feel pain. It was time to cut the right side after I was done with the left side. My left cheek cut hurt just as badly when I did it. When I was done with both sides, I stopped. I was pleased with my work as I looked at myself in the mirror. When I smiled, my lips were wider and my teeth stood out more. But the best thing about my smile was that it looked better than All Might's. I look great. I still feel like I need a name. It's hard for me to think of names for bad guys. But I do look like a clown, so no one would really be scared of. Then it struck me again. With my green hair all over the place, I did look like a clown. It makes sense that people would be scared of a bad guy who looks and acts like a clown. It also helps me trick heroes. I picked myself to be the first clown bad guy, but I still couldn't come up with a name. Then I remembered the Joker card, which my mom would always take out of the deck so that I could play by myself. That did sound good to me. The strange card. The Jester. Joke is my name. I'm the Joker. I yelled through the apartment building, "I'm the Joker," and laughed really loudly. Izuku Midoriya is not and will never be my name again. For now it will be the Joker. I stopped laughing all of a sudden. What was I going to do with the picture I made of my mother's dead body still lying in a pool of blood? This is a good kick in the behind. I finally found my calling, but my mom is going to ruin it. It's funny that she helped me and is now going to stop me. I need to find a way to get rid of all the proof. But how am I going to do it? Then I had the best thought ever. I had a terrible, crazy, creepy, brilliant idea. I could set the whole place on fire. I'm going to do that right away. Third-person view. Izuku turned on the gas in the kitchen. He was sure that the gas was moving, so he looked around for anything that could catch fire. He did, in fact, find a whole bottle of lighter fluid and a deck of cards. He took the matches, cracked open the bottle, and poured the gas all over the place. He sang a little song he had heard before while he did this. Darn you, smile, you know what? This great world is a good one after all. Darn you, smile, watch for Lady Luck to call you right away. Things are painted black, but they are never really black. Now is the time for you and Joy to meet, so make your life worth living. Darn you, smile. After finishing his happy song, he sprayed lighter fluid everywhere it could go. Izuku looked tense as he lit a match and threw it on the lighter fluid puddle. And now, for the grand finale. He smiled as the fire spread and covered everything. He chose to leave through the window in his bedroom. He jumped out of the window and it was safe for him to land on the ground. Nailed that landing, he said as he walked out of the apartment building. As soon as he did that, the apartment blew up, and fire got through the roof. He began to laugh again as he watched this. Izuku laughed out loud. Watch out, heroes, there's a new bad guy in town, and his name is the Joker. He then laughed, and he was no longer in the scene. There was a fire at an apartment building last night. People thought it was an accident while cooking, but it wasn't. Even though there isn't much proof of the crime, there was one thing. People nearby heard what sounded like laughter after the building caught fire. After this commercial break, there will be more as it happens. Third-person view. A whole school full of dead students with smiles on their faces. A container with a playing card attached to it was found at the scene of the crime. All of these clues point to one bad guy. The Joker. A man from Best Jeanist Company was found dead in one of the offices 3 weeks ago. He had a haunting grin on his face and a playing card in his shirt pocket. After that, more and more people died for no reason related to heroes. Some people have died because of the Joker's poison, which is called Joker Venom. Who is the Joker? That is the real question. Click. Someone turned off the TV with a remote in a dimly lit bar. The person who did it held the remote with his pinky finger up. He wore all black and had one hand on his face and the other on his arms. His name was Tamura Shigaraki and he was the acting leader of the League of Villains. This guy's work is really getting better, he said as he scratched himself and skin flaked off. Why do you think the Joker looks like that, Kurogiri? The man in question was fixing some glasses behind the bar. He was dressed in a black tuxedo vest, black pants, and a white dress shirt. What made him even stranger was that he had metal plates around his collarbone, making him look like a shadow. His eyes seemed to be yellow. Hard to say, Tamura, said Kurogiri. Though in my perspective, he should have an abnormally wide smile, wears a cheap suit, and has some quirk to help him with his gas he makes. Oh, I would love to work with him, Tamura laughed as he let his mind wander. Just think of all the chaos and damage we could make together. We could destroy All Might in the whole city. Even though it would be nice, Kurogiri said, we have other things to do. Tamura groaned in disappointment. Tamura complained, why do we have to meet this fucking guy again? We need to create an alliance between the League of Villains and Stain, the hero killer, said Kurogiri. Fine, but this better work, Tamura said as a threat. As Kurogiri was about to say something else, the door to the bar opened and a man wearing a long, torn red scarf and holders with knives in them walked in. This man was Stain, the hero killer. Soon after, 2 more people came in. One was a man with black hair and what looked like staples on his hands and upper face. He wore a long black jacket with a white t-shirt and black pants. The other was a woman with blonde hair that was pulled back into 2 messy buns. She wore a cardigan sweater-like jacket and a sailor-style uniform. They had different looks on their faces. The boy's face showed boredom, while the girl's was excited with a small blush on her cheeks. These 2 people are crazy. Who the hell are they? Why the fuck are they here? Tamura yelled quickly. They're mine, Stain said. The girl's name is Toga Himiko. Toga laughed and said, hello handyman. And the boy's name is Dabi, Stain said, ignoring her. Toyo asked, what is his real name? Dabi said, I'll tell you when I feel like it. Tamura growled, tell me now. Dabi replied, you'll have to earn my trust first. So there wouldn't be a fight, Kurogiri said, "Okay, let's remember why we're here. I think we should all calm down and try to find a way to work together." "No, I only agreed to see the hero killer alone, not with these spoiled brats," Tamura yelled. That comment made Toga and Dabi very angry, and Kurogiri couldn't handle the rising tensions. Just then, someone laughed. At first, it wasn't very loud, but it got louder and louder. Ha 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 ha. The mysterious voice cackled through the air. "Okay, stop me if you've heard this one before," the voice says. A good guy, a bad guy, and a regular person all walked into a bar. The bad guy says, "We need to beat you and make you humble," while the good guy says, "We need to keep you monsters from causing trouble." The civilian thinks to himself while they argue and finally says, "I've got the answer." Both the good guy and the bad guy look at the civilian. The person then pulls out a gun and shoots both the good guy and the bad guy. The funny thing is that no one cares. "Who the hell are you?" Tamura yelled, feeling a little scared. The stranger laughed as he said, "Well, if you ask me more politely, I might be able to tell you who I am." "Can you tell us who you are, please?" Toga asked. Pretty please with an eyeball on top. The stranger came into the light and said, "Well, since you asked so nicely, mademoiselle." People stared at the stranger's outfit when he stepped out into public. He wore a custom-tailored coat with tails on the back of the suit. It was a faded dark purple color that went well with his gloves and pants. He wore a yellowish-orange dress shirt and a green tuxedo vest under it. He also wore a black lie and tap-dancing shoes. But his face told a different story. He had white grease paint all over his face, and when people saw his mouth, they gasped. It looked like it went across his face and up a little. When he spoke again, his grin got a little bigger. The already known Joker said, "Hello, everyone. My name is the Joker. It's time to show this face to the world." Oh my goodness, that was so funny. The elephant in the room made everyone freeze. Even more important, the bad guy in the room. Even though the tension was higher than before, it wasn't because of anger. It was a lot worse. What made things tense was fear. Everyone had different thoughts going through their heads. He was thinking about how to make him want to join the League of Villains. However, Kurogiri was feeling tense as he thought about how he got in here without anyone noticing. Stain was wondering how he got here and if he was following them. Dabi was thinking about the things that were important to him. The last thing Toga did was think about something very important. She was looking around to see if the Joker had a girlfriend or was looking for a partner. He pulled them out of their thoughts and asked, "What's wrong? Cat got your tongues. If you have any questions, I'll be sure to answer them." Kurogiri asked first, "How did you get in here?" While he got his bearings. And furthermore, how long were you here for? "That's pretty clear, Smokey," the Joker said with a mean smile. "I used the door. As for how long I was standing there, well, let's just say I've heard almost everything. Oh, and by the way, the suit wasn't cheap." Kurogiri didn't like the way he spoke, but he also didn't want to make him mad. While it's true that his quirk lets him make portals, he's still not crazy enough to mess with the Joker. Why the hell did he kill a reporter for calling the Joker a poor excuse for a circus clown? It was a sure thing that person was found dead in an empty warehouse, dressed as a clown and with the famous death grin on his face. While he was shaking in his mind, Kurogiri thought, "I don't want that to happen to me." He was about to say something to Joker when Tamura walked up to him and cut him off. "So you're the famous Joker everyone has been talking about?" Tamura asked with a surprised tone. He really didn't think the Joker would look like a 14-year-old. But he also didn't think he would just walk right into the bar. But that's what he liked about him. He could do impossible things. "Right you are, Mr. Handyman," Toga told Joker, and Joker laughed as he used the name. "I would shake your hand, but I don't know where to start." Ha 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 ha. The Joker looked around the room until he saw Stain, the hero killer. By the time he got to Stain, his smile was bigger than ever. Stain was shaking like a leaf, but he didn't show it. He stopped right in front of the Joker, who then looked at him. Stain didn't know what he was doing, but he stayed still to get it done faster. Hissing, "Odd," the Joker said. "Your name is Stain, but there's hardly a spot on you." Ha 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 ha. He then laughed out loud at his own joke. A tired look on everyone's face made them wonder why he was laughing at this time. "Why are you making these stupid jokes?" asked Dobby, who had had enough of his silly attempt to be funny. Everyone looked at him with faces filled with shock and horror. The Joker slowly turned to look at Dobby, who was now totally scared. He was just feeling bad about what he said out loud. "Well, if you must know," Joker said as he walked toward Dobby, "I'm just trying to ease the tension in the room. I didn't know that it made you uncomfortable. To show you that I'm sincerely sorry of what I did, I offer you a handshake, so put her there, pal." Joker reached out to shake Dobby's hand to be friendly. Like everyone else, Dobby was shocked. He was sure that Joker was going to kill him and not even shake hands with him. For that reason, Dobby chose to shake his hand. Everyone, even Dobby, was shocked by what happened next. "BZTTZ," Dobby screamed, "AHHHHH," as he felt electricity running through his hand. He couldn't feel anything with his hand for about a minute after the Joker let go of it. "Well, that was shocking," the Joker said, turning his hand around to show a joystick on his middle finger. "You fell for that like a world-class sucker. Did you really think that I would let you get away with that remark? Nobody, and I mean nobody, messes with me." He got really close to Dobby's face and looked deep into his soul with his crazy, green eyes. His smile was still there, but his eyes told a different story. His eyes were red with anger and held the threat of a painful death. When Joker said, "Got it," there was no way to argue. Dobby stuttered, "GG, got it," as if he had seen the devil. "Good," Joker said as he moved away from Dobby, who was thinking again about giving up. At one point, Joker looked around the room and saw something that made his heart race. As he looked at him, Toga had wide, calculating eyes and a big blush on her face. He knew what she was trying to tell him because he used to give heroes the same look. That look of awe on their face, it would be too mild to say that he was shocked. It had been a long time since someone gave him that look. Because of his status, everyone he met would look at him with either pity or anger in their eyes. The hired help would just stare at him in fear when he turned into the Joker. But the way this girl, whom he had only known for a minute, looked at him with love and desire made his heart race so fast that it hurt. It took him a long time to figure out what love at first sight meant. As he walked toward her, he kept his eyes on her the whole time. At the same time, Toga was going through a midlife crisis. She became very interested in the Joker and his first killing as soon as she heard about it. She would watch the news about his crimes, take pictures of the badly cut up bodies of his victims, and look for him in the criminal world. To get his attention, she even killed civilians and cut smiles into their faces. She had no idea that going to a dull meeting with Stain would lead her to meet the Joker. Besides being her age, for God's sake, her heart was beating 50 miles per hour, and she wasn't sure if it was her hormones or her crazy mind. She only knew that he had to be going through a lot to be the most feared bad guy in town. With a wave in front of her face, a purple-gloved hand brought her back to the real world. The fool said, "Hello. Is anyone in there? I would love to meet this fine young woman here in front of me." That was way too loud of Toga to hear. "My name is Toga Himiko, Mr. J." Joker asked in a soft voice, "What did you call me?" Mr. J," she stuttered, afraid she had said something wrong. No one could hear what the man was saying under his breath. He was quiet for a moment before he laughed out loud. The Joker smiled big and hugged Toga in a way that no one saw coming. When he said, "I love the sound of that," it woke Toga up. It has a sort of sense style to it. "Mr. J, it is. Thank you, dear." Toga stuttered, "Oh, it was nothing, really." Her blush was getting worse. He spoke up again and asked, "Why are you here? I don't mean to be rude." Joker let go of Toga and put one arm around her, who was now glowing like a neon sign. "Oh, nothing much. A little song, a little dance, maybe All Might's head on a lance," he said. Kurogiri, who was angry, asked, "What do you really mean?" "Exactly what I said before," the Joker said with a sly grin. "I want All Might's head on a lance." "Exactly what I said before," the Joker said with a sly grin. "I want All Might's head on a lance." It would be too mild to say that everyone was shocked. Thoughts were going around about why the Joker would want to kill All Might. What did he not like about him? Tamura asked in a pumped-up voice, "So, does that mean you'll join us?" Because he loved what he did, all the other bad guys will quickly join him. He couldn't wait for the chaos and death to begin. "I will join, but," Joker yelled, making Tamura shake with excitement. "I'll need to cover some ground rules though." "What do you want?" Kurogiri asked, stopping Tormora from making hasty choices. The Joker said, "First, I'd like to work on my own terms. I'm an artist and I should be able to express myself, not be contained. That first one will be tricky to do, but with a little time it can easily be done," he said. "Time is just a word to me," Joker said. "My request second thing is to meet whoever the big cheese around here is. I certainly know it's not either of you, so don't try and fool me. I'm crazy, not stupid." "That one might be hard to do," Kurogiri said as he was about to explain, but Tamura cut him off. "Sensei would really like to meet you in person," Tamura told Kurogiri, which surprised him a little. Kurogiri asked, "When did he say this? I had no memory of this conversation." "Didn't I tell you he was coming in to check on how things were?" said Tamura. "Wait a minute, I remember now. I forgot to tell you because you went out early for shopping, for food and supplies for the bar that day." "We'll talk about this later," Kurogiri told him in a low voice. "So anyways," the Joker said, ignoring the fight between the two bad guys. "My third request is that if you manage to capture anyone, notify me immediately. I do love torturing people. It's one of my guilty pleasures." "Okay. Do you have any more requests?" Kurogiri asked. "Just one more," Joker told Toga, pointing over. "I want her." "What?" asked Kurogiri. As Stain got his blades ready, he yelled, What do you want could you possibly want with her?" "Simple, I need help," Joker said in as a matter of fact, way. "I need someone who shares my sense of humor and doesn't question my sanity. She fits the criteria quite nicely." The Toga was cold. She was stuck. When Stain tried to say something, she woke up. Tried is the word. When Stain started to say, "What if she," Toga jumped at the once-in-a-lifetime chance right away. She wasn't going to let anyone mess this up, not even Stain. She yelled, "I'll do it. No way anyone's going to ruin this moment for me." Joker put down 2 Joker cards with addresses on them and said, "Great, here's my card." She got one from him and Toga got another. Just as he was leaving, Joker said, "Well, I'll see you all around. Until next time we meet." He was about halfway there when he heard a question that stopped him. Dobby asked, "What do you believe in? Also, why do you have a vendetta against All Might?" He slowly turned his head toward Dobby, which made him jump. The question that everyone had was the same. What did he believe, and why did he hate All Might so much? After being quiet for a moment, Joker spoke. "What I believe is that life is just a cruel joke that pulls the unfortunate people down, making them into freaks, like me," said Joker. "As for Smiley, he's a dream ruiner." But he didn't look back at the shocked and confused looks on everyone's face. Instead, he turned his head forward. He walks out waltzing and singing his favorite song. "Darn you, Smile, you know what? This great world is a good one after all. Darn you, Smile, watch for Lady Luck to call you right away. Things are painted black, but they are never really black. Now is the time for you and Joy to meet, so make your life worth living. Smile, darn it." Everyone had to wonder while he was gone. How did he get to know All Might? Even though they knew things were going their way, they knew that everyone would be scared of them. From Katsuki's point of view, it's been months since the Midoriyas were killed for no clear reason. It's been 1 month since Auntie Inko was killed. A month ago, Deizuku was last seen. I still thought about how my mom cried when she heard the news. The scene broke my heart so much that I remember it like it was yesterday. Go back in time, I walked from school to my house. I still didn't understand why Deku was so set on his dream. I'm the only one who could get through that trashy school and become the best hero, better than All Might. Even though he didn't have a quirk, he still wanted to compete with me. There's nothing in the way of me and Deku. There's nothing useful about Deku. Why should I take care of him? Why do I pick on him? People who don't know me well think I'm an egotistical jerk who doesn't care about Deku. I'm really an egotistical jerk who is jealous of Izuku. Even though he didn't have a quirk, He could have been a hero. He always put others before himself. There's still something I don't understand about why I pick on him. Why do I pick on him still? Am I still angry? I couldn't see where I was going because these questions kept going through my mind. It was making me mad, so I was going to blast the thing out of the way until I saw what it was. There was a police car in our driveway. I only thought of one thing. Why is there a police car here? I had a feeling that something was wrong. But what was it? I went to the front door and pushed through my fear and anxiety until I heard someone crying. I was interested in who was crying in the house. When I opened the door, I was shocked by what I saw. There was a man with a fedora and a trench coat who looked sad at my parents. My mom was crying so hard that she couldn't stop in my dad's arms. It made me feel worse in my gut. What in the hell was going on? I thought to myself, what the fucking hell is going on? Both the man and my parents looked at me. I was scared because they were quiet. After what seemed like forever, the man finally spoke to me. I think it's Kasuki Bakugo, he replied. I said, yeah, what's the big deal? I didn't care about him right now, but he seemed important. Why was he here? That was all I cared about. I'm Detective Noamasa Tsukachi from the police force, he said. I was wondering if you know Izuku Midoriya. What? Did I understand that right? Does he want to talk about Deku? Why? How did he get away? I asked the police officer, what happened to him? It hurt 10 times more than it did before in my gut. He said, we don't know where he is, but I knew there was more to say. We got word of an apartment building that caught on fire. When we looked over the crime scene, we saw a burnt notebook with the name Izuku Midoriya written inside. When we read further into it, we saw your name in it. I went cold. My heart stopped beating and my blood ran cold. Did he say what I think he said? Not at all. No, it's not possible. How could this happen? I started to say, is he? But I failed to finish. I was lucky that my mom chose to talk. I could barely speak through tears as my mom said, no, his body was not there. BB but his mother. As she hid herself deeper in my dad's loving arms, she started to cry again. I felt a little better after this, but only because I could understand what my mom said. Izuku's mom had died. That's why she was so sad. The two of them were close in school and after they got married as well. After that, I thought of something else. Then why is he here? He doesn't believe. It dawned on me then. I knew I was thinking erroneously, but I had to back up what I thought. I asked him, do you think he did it? He began, he is a suspect, but I stopped him before he could finish. He would never do that to anyone, even to his own goddamn fucking mother, I said. He wanted to be a hero for fuck's sake. He wants to save people, not murder them. He would do that. If you think it's him then you can go fuck yourself. He's the perfect human being that I'm jealous of. I finally gave in and let all the feelings I had been trying to keep inside explode into the open. I began to cry before I knew it. I cried because I was mad, upset, and angry, but mostly because I was sad. I cried because I felt bad. I felt guilty because I couldn't say I was sorry. I'm sorry I made his life so hard. I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm really sorry. After that, I felt 2 arms around me. When my mom hugged me from behind, I knew it was her. She grabbed me even though I didn't try to fight her like I usually do. We just cried to get our feelings out. Go back in time, I'm now going to UA. Izuku has always wanted to come here. I wish he were here instead of the jerks in my class. Some of my classmates are really weird, and I wish I could never meet them. Iga Yuga Aoyama. Someone who looks like an idiot and has a really stupid quirk. Toi Mina Ishido. She believes she is my friend. Thank you, Kaminari. He also believes that he is a friend of mine. Hikaru Kirishima. Someone I can kind of put up with. Suyu Asui. A girl who looks like a frog and says what she thinks without holding back. Hi, Tenya. A control freak who has a stick up his behind. Cute Shoto Todoroki. He was called the half and half bastard by me. I'm Momo Yaoyorozu. Like a control freak, but not as crazy. Ike Mineta Minoru. A little twisted jerk with another stupid quirk. And some other people I never really wanted to get to know. One person, though, stood out like a sore thumb. She was the only one who made me feel bad. She was the only one who made me think of Izuku. The Ochako Uraraka. is so much like him in personality and traits that it was creepy as hell. When she tries to talk to me, I keep seeing Midoriya when she was younger when she does. The weight of guilt and sadness was so heavy on me that I couldn't even talk to her. I'm going to find him one day and say sorry. I'm sorry for everything I've done to him. Tell him that he can be a hero too, just maybe. Izuku, I will find you. That's a promise. Pav of Torshinori, if you remember, that kid asked me that question months ago. It was Izuku Midoriya. The question that made me feel bad about what I did. I made a choice that would stay with me forever. Is it possible to become a hero without a quirk? I should have told him without making him feel bad, but not to try to touch a nerve. I knew I was being mean, but being a hero is a risky job. I told him to dream like there is no tomorrow, but I wasn't ready for what he said next. Hypocrite. You are like everyone else. Everyone looks down at me and tells me to give up hope. I thought you were different, but now I know. You're the same as all the other superheroes. It hurt. Plenty. It hurt something else more than my pride, though. It made my heart hurt. His dream was still alive, even though he didn't have any quirks. That hurt my heart. Still stuck with him even though other people laughed at him and used it as an excuse to bother him. But the thing I wish I had changed the most was taking away his dreams. It was clear in his eyes. I knew I broke all of his hopes and dreams. He lost all of his hopes. I didn't even stop him from leaving. I meant to tell him I was sorry, but I didn't have time. This was all I could think about. What could go wrong next? Life seems to be a jerk and chose to fuck with me. Go back in time. I stood there frozen when he spoke to me. I knew I had to do something because I made him mad. As a superhero, I changed into the bad guy and dropped him off at the nearest police station. Then I went to find the kid with the green hair and told him I was sorry. It was hard to find a green clump of hair on a kid with freckles. I would have kept looking for him all afternoon, but I couldn't because of how sick I was. I stopped being a hero and walked slowly home until I had an idea. Could Noamasa help me find the kid? It was his job as a detective to find people who were breaking the law. He must be able to help me find the kid again. I walked faster so I could get home faster and call him right away. I saw a car parked next to the mailbox as I got closer to the house where I lived. I didn't have a car, but I knew whose it was. It was Noamasa's car. I knew something was wrong. He only comes to my house when something important or life-threatening is going on. I slowed down and tried to calm my heart rate. When I opened the door, I saw Noamasa reading something on my couch that I couldn't see. After putting the thing down when I came into view, he looked at me. He said, "Torshinori," in a serious tone, "we need to talk." I asked him, "About what?" "About this," he answered. Then he threw the unknown object. As I looked more closely, it hit me like one of my Texas smash hits. The book looked like it had been burned, but that didn't bother me. My handwriting on a page was what really got me. That person I knew owned this. That kid's stuff was what I was looking for. "This belongs to a kid named Izuku Midoriya," he stated. This was all that we could salvage from the fire. Hold on. What? Fire? What's the fire? I asked with worry. What happened? I don't know, he replied. I got a call of an apartment building that caught on fire. When I got to look at the crime scene, I saw a burned-looking notebook. When I inspected it further, I saw your signature in it. I as he. I started to finish the sentence, but fear filled my heart. Noamasa spoke up, which was good for me. No, thought his mother wasn't lucky, he told me. Her body was unidentifiable, even her dental records didn't match because of the fire damage. Only the neighbors recognized who lived there. Right now I'm about to question a kid named Katsuki Bakugo, because his name was in the notebook, though before I go, I need to ask one question. Do you know what happened to him? Two things made me sure I couldn't lie to him. The first reason is that it was impossible to lie to him because of his quirk. One reason he's such a great detective is because of that. I trust him, which is the second reason. He hid my injury from the records so that no one would know what was wrong with me. I told him the truth. He asked how I met him and I told him. To say the least, he was shocked. He spoke up again after 2 minutes of silence. Don't be so hard on yourself, he said at last. You didn't know what was going to happen when you said that to him. Still, I said, stepping in. I need to find him and say that I'm sorry. Will you help me? I was waiting for him to answer. I really didn't believe he would assist me. I'll help you, he finally said. Now if you excuse me, I have to meet this Katsuki person. Just remembered what I said. He left my house on foot, making me think about what I did. Go back in time, we still haven't had any luck. Even though this new bad guy is called the Joker. He has killed more people with this awful gas that made you laugh so hard you died. No matter where he is, I only hope that Izuku Midoriya is okay. I'm sorry, kid. I'm sorry, Toga's view. What is going on with me? I can't believe it. I'm finally going to meet him after 4 months of him showing up at meetings. I was going to do it the day after the meeting, but Stain and, surprisingly, Dobby became panic and protection mode on me and kept track of where I am. I understand why Stain is so wary of me. Mr. J has killed almost 1,000 people now, you know, but I don't know about Dobby. But I think it was the joystick thing that went wrong. I finally let them off the hook by putting a good amount of sleeping pills in their drinks. I haven't seen Mr. J in too long. Dear Mr. J, since he gave me his card, I've been calling him that. I can still remember how happy he looked when I told him that. What he said to me is still fresh in my mind. That sounds great to me, it kind of style to it. Mr. J, yes it is. Thank you, sweetheart. I remember what he asked of us too, from me in particular. I need her. I need your help. I need someone who gets my sense of humor and doesn't think I'm crazy. She meets all the requirements perfectly. It was his wish that I would help him. His partner in crime. It doesn't matter what you call it at all to me. I'll hang out with him, learn from him, steal things with him, and most of all, kill people with Mr. J. I'm almost there. I was walking down an empty road at the time. Following the directions got me to where I think he hides. Where I was going wasn't clear from the road I was on. I began to see something as I went further down. It meant something. It looked like it was old. The lights are broken or not there at all. The paper on the sign was coming off. Still, it caught my eye when I read it. Spray paint marks in a dark green color say, "Dear Joker, oh no. That's why he plans everything here." At the burned out Carnival Mile. The Carnival Mile wasn't used for a very long time. It makes sense for Mr. J to want to work somewhere that sounds like his name. I wonder how he got here. As I kept walking along the path, I saw the entrance. It looked like the head of a clown, and the opening was the mouth. Someone stopped me just as I was about to go in. "Why are you here?" asked the stranger. When I took a better look at what he was wearing, I almost told him what I thought. He dressed in black pants and shoes and a purple leather jacket. A white mask with a smile on it was another thing he wore. What was on his jacket, though, really got to me. It looked like a skull and had an abnormally big smile on its face. He wore a little jester head on his jacket. Hold on. Is it possible? Does this mean what I think it means? I asked, "Do you work for Mr. J?" The stranger took out a small sketch pad and said, "I asked you to." Wait. Blonde hair in messy buns. Check. Large cardigan sweater. Check. Smile with almost canine teeth. Check. Calls the boss Mr. J. Check. Well, it all spells out. You're Toga Himiko, all right. Boss been expecting you. Follow me. He does work for Mr. J, I knew it. Hold on. Did he tell me that Mr. J was ready to meet me? The man turned around and walked through the door. I ran after him to catch up. I got lost in the carnival of joy as I got closer to him. I called them Joker goons, and there were a lot more of them. They were running around with clown masks or makeup on. But what they were with really caught my eye. People of all sizes, from skinny to fat, were dressed in white, loose clothes by the Joker goons. I knew what and who these people were. They are the criminally crazy people you see in scary movies. All of them were standing, running, or rolling around the carnival. Do you know why Mr. J needs so many crazy people around? The jerk snapped me out of my thought with, "The boss would like to see you in the haunted house." The scary house looked like the ones at the beginning of Scooby-Doo. It was a dark purple color, and there were happiness and, "ha ha," signs on the outside walls. When I got to the door, there was a welcome mat that said, "Not welcomed." I opened the door and looked out into the room, which wasn't very bright. I saw a neon green arrow pointing in the direction of what I think is the dining hall when I looked down. I saw the arrows point to a closed door and heard someone talking on the other side. Someone who I thought was a Joker goon said, "Please sir, don't kill me." "Give me one good reason why I shouldn't kill you," said a voice I knew very well. It was Mr. J's voice. "Well," said the scared schmuck. "Nothing to say?" Mr. J asked. "Then I'll start. Not only did you question me and my work several times, but you had the gall to try to kill me, which you failed so miserably I might add, and also tried to take over my whole operation. Now that's something I cannot take lightly." "Hold on. Did he just try to kill him? Kill Mr. J? Sorry. No way." Without giving it much thought, I pulled out my box cutter and slammed the door open with so much force that the men in the room knew I was there. In front of my target, Mr. J was holding a gun. He first looked surprised, but that look quickly changed to pure joy. The greased paint face of the Joker goon, on the other hand, showed pure fear. I hit him in the leg with my box cutter. He screamed in pain as he fell. For what he tried to do, I took it out of his leg and am going to cut him up. "Don't ever mess with my man," I yelled and cut the man several times. I kept cutting him and ripping the trash apart until I heard someone clap. When I raised my eyes, I saw Mr. J snapping his hands together. He said, "Well done," and smiled. "Well done, my dear. What a performance you did. I really loved how you slashed your way through to the skin. My favorite part was when you screamed at the top of your lungs saying, 'Don't mess with my man,' and if I'm honest, that turned me on a little." "Did I say that?" "I did, I guess." "No, I did not." "Hold on. He said he was excited, right? Though," he said, pulling me out of the muck. "You ruined your outfit." "Don't worry, thought. I got it plenty of spare clothing in the dressing room. Follow me." I pointed to the dead piece of trash and asked, "What about the body?" "Someone will clean this up," he said as he led me out of the room. "Besides, that room did need a paint job." Ha 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 ha. We stopped at a random door before we got 5 feet away. There was a big star on the door. "This is the dressing room," Mr. J told me as he opened the door. "Take that off and wear whatever you think looks best." He let me in and then shut the door behind me. I think he wants to give her some space to get dressed. The clothes were all about the circus. I looked all around to find the best thing for me. Too big, too little, too frilly. To get puffy. I'm not into pinks. Not a fan of polka dots. I'm not into greens. Not a fan of stripes. I lost hope, but then I found it again. The perfect costume that would look great on me and probably make Mr. J speechless. This is great. Wait until Mr. J sees this. From Joker's point of view, while she was getting dressed, I patiently waited outside for her. That's the least I can do for her after she killed that hired thug with no good reason. He was so cocky as to try to take over my empire, which I built up in just 4 months. I wonder what she'll wear. As I thought that, the door opened without my noticing until I heard a voice. She asked Mr. J in a cute way, "What do you think?" I was shocked when I turned to look at her. Her skin-tight jumpsuit fit her well and showed off her curves. There were a mix of red and black patterns on her legs. The top part was red on the left and black on the right, and the bottom part was the opposite color with 3 diamonds on the right side. She also had a white collar with pleats around her neck. She wore a black and red jester mask on top of her head that showed her ears. The hat went down to her hips and ended with little white balls. She put on makeup too. She changed her face so that it looked a lot like mine. Her lips were a deep shade of red, and she put a little blush on them. She even got a mole on her right cheek that looks like a heart. She said, so, as he spun around, "How do you like it? Does it scream me?" Words can't explain how I feel about it, I told her as I looked up at the stars. If you told her she looked good, she would smile happily. It was impossible for me not to laugh at her. It seemed like she heard me and laughed with me. "So," I replied, feeling better, "what's your name going to be?" She said, "I think I have it. I'll call myself Harley Quinn." "Harley Quinn, that's interesting." I squealed. "I love it, so Harley, ready to paint the town red?" "You know it, Mr. J," she said with a laugh. I began to laugh out loud again, even though this laugh wasn't meant to be mean or hurtful. No, I laughed because I was so happy. I'm sure we'll make a lot of trouble. I also know that we'll look great together. "Heroes, be careful, we're going to get you." Several reports of high level of crime activity. Click, bank robberies gone to extreme levels. Click, bombs blown up in several locations. Click, 100 citizens injured during. Click, 20 politicians found murdered with smiles. Click, missing inmates from local asylum. Click the TV sound. Turned off as it changed news channels. One person, Police Chief Kenji Suragame, who is a dog, turned it off. He showed the newest news clips from the last week. He was in a meeting with some other police officers to talk about a problem. The Joker, I've seen you all seen the news lately, I take it, Kenji said. We need to find anything we have on this monster and put a stop to this madness. We don't have anything solid yet, one officer said. The gas is untraceable, the cards don't have any fingerprints, and he seems to pick people at random. This made things hard for the police chief. The real heroes were the police and firefighters before all of these quirks showed up. When people got quirks and chose to use them for good or bad, the damage was somehow spread to other people. He asked himself, how could things get worse? Things did happen, a lot. People were dying all over the place when this Joker character came along. People would die from his explosions and bullets. But Joker's deadly laughing gas was the most dangerous thing to die from. Even the forensics team couldn't figure out what kind of chemical compound the gas was. Not only does it make them laugh so hard they cry, but it also gives them an ugly grin that makes their face look bigger. Their faces were so bad that they couldn't even have open casket funerals. Kenny said, I hope we catch this guy soon. Just who knows what his madman can do. If I may, sir, asked a cat that had been made to sound like a person. This was Sansa Tamakawa, who was also a police officer. Kenji told him, go on, because he was excited to hear what he had to say. Sansa said, I think he wants to show the world something. That somehow we're not important, that our quirks mean nothing. That we're all one big joke. When he said that, the chief was shocked, but he didn't argue with it either. He realized that heroes today usually look at the bigger picture. There were people who wanted fame and people who wanted money, but they all looked down on the world's smaller problems. Of course, they helped people sometimes, but only to look good. There was even a poll about which superhero was the best. Kenji said, I think I get it. Though, we need to find a location he's at. I have something for you, sir, said another police officer. He does have his own gimmick. What if we looked for him in places villains don't really hide in? The chief thought about it. Joker did look like the kind of bad guy whose hideout would make him look like himself. Why not give it a try? Okay. Let's do that, the chief said with more energy. I want a total of 5 squadrons. 2 squadrons will look at abandoned factories that used to manufacture toys while the other 2 look for rundown theme parks. The last squadron will look in the underworld of crime to look for anyone, and I mean anyone who has connections to Joker. Do I make myself clear? A string of, yes sir, rands went through the air. The chief gave them a nod, telling them to start right away. The chief, Sansa, and Detective Tsukachi were the only ones left in the room as everyone else left. That's it, Noamasa said as he stood up. I'll start looking into the records of criminals who might have ties to the Joker. Don't rush things, the chief said. I'm afraid I have to leave you out of this one. What? Noamasa asked his boss as he turned around. I can't just sit here. Then Sansa spoke up and put his paw-like hand on Noamasa's shoulder. You've been working too hard on this. You've been trying to find this Joker guy all day, every day. To say the least, that was true. He was looking for the guy so badly that he hardly ever went back to his apartment and drank more coffee than a normal person should. We know you mean well, she said, but we're worried that you might crash in the wrong place at the wrong time. Don't worry, the chief said, we'll let you know something new. Go home and try to sleep for now. It took Noamasa a while to give in, but he did. Okay. I give up, he said as he walked out the door, but let me know as soon as you find out anything about him. As he walked toward the train station, they nodded and said they would do what they said they would do. He just hopes it was only temporary. It was a surprise to him that life was full of them. Scene change. Apartment, Noamasa's point of view. When I got to my little apartment, it was getting dark. The sun had already started to go down, making the sky bright red and orange. Do you think anyone really likes the view? As I took off my hat and coat and hung them on the coat hanger, I signed. I then untied my tie and went to the kitchen to get a snack. I knew I should be resting, but I was hungry. When I got to the fridge, I saw a note that said, "Remember, do not forget to call Makoto." Her eyes got big as I looked for my phone. She's my younger sister and in her senior year of college. She's a strong, independent woman who isn't afraid to take risks to get what she wants. I finally found my phone in the pocket of my pants. I called her number and waited for her to call. "Please don't be mad, please don't be mad, please don't be mad, please don't be mad." I hoped in silence that she wasn't mad when the call finally came through. A bad little sister is a mad little sister. Masato yelled into the phone, "Finally you called. I was so worried about you." "Hold on. Then why would she be scared? I am totally." "Oh." I asked Makoto in a soft voice, "Did you think the Joker got to me?" She didn't answer right away, so the line was dead. After what seemed like 5 minutes, she spoke up. "Yes," she whispered, "I thought that monster hurt you. I thought he killed you. That he changed the shape of your face. Because of him, I thought I would never see you again. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry." Then she started to cry. I hated it when she cried. It always made me cry too. I tried to comfort her. That's the important word. "Listen up, Makoto," I told her, getting her attention. "I promise nothing bad will happen to me." "Pinky swear?" she asked. "Pinky swear," I told her. "Good," she said. "If anything happened to you, I'll personally take your job to find the person who harmed you." The way she said it made me think she wasn't joking. I was about to tell her not to do that when I heard a knock on the door. Knock knock, who could it be? Is that Sansa? Did he leave something out? More and more things were knocking, and Makoto could hear them. She told me, "You're going to get that." As I walked to the door, I told her, "Yes, but I don't like the way it looks." As I reached for the doorknob, she said, "It might be someone from work." "But they should have called." I started to say, but stopped when I heard something. Bang! I didn't see the gunshot coming when I opened the door. I fell to the ground with a loud thud, and the pain got 10 times worse. I could hear my sister screaming on the phone, and I tried to reach for it, but someone stepped on my hand. When I looked up, I saw him, and it shook me to my core. The Joker was looking down at me. He was dressed in a dark purple trench coat and hat that matched. With his purple gloved hand, he reached for the phone, picked it up, and put it to his ear. He laughed and said, "I'm so sorry, but I think he's a little too sick to answer the phone right now." The legs were losing their feeling, and I was losing blood quickly. I felt cold, like it was winter. I could barely see Joker's face, but I could tell he was smiling meanly at me because I could see a glint in his eyes. I was about to lose my morals, but I had to know one thing before I passed out. "Why, I finally get out, are you doing this?" He took a camera out of his coat and said, "To prove a point, here's to crime." Everything went black, so I couldn't tell what happened next. As I fell asleep, I could hear his laughter bouncing around in my head. Shota's point of view after 2 days of the attack on Detective Noazumasa, things got even worse. The media went crazy and asked the police force questions they didn't have answers to. The police force made pro-heroes to sweep the city twice a day, from dusk to dawn. I find this very hard to do. Not only did my friend Namori, also known as Midnight, get me a job at UA that I didn't want at all. Now I have to work even harder to keep the streets safe and find this Joker character. But this type of bad guy doesn't seem to have a plan. I think he sees it as a game or a joke. It will be hilarious when he's locked up. However, I think this was a sign of something much worse. When the police found the anonymous caller, they saw a terrible scene. His apartment was a mess, and the walls were covered in smiley faces and laughter. What was even worse was that they found him naked with a camera on him. They rushed him to the nearest hospital, but the damage had already been done. Detective Noamasa was completely paralyzed. Doctors say there is a very small chance that he will be able to walk again. If I remember correctly, his sister Makoto is currently being watched over by security services. But I'm also worried about Torshinori. He looked sad when he heard the news, and he looked like he saw a ghost when he found out it was Joker. I knew Torsh had this connection to the detective, but I didn't know anyone else did. He thinks Joker knows who he is and is waiting for the right time to attack him. I told him he was being paranoid, but I think he's right. But that's not my problem right now. I'm searching the city's seedy alleyways for the Joker. If I'm right, he must need a big vehicle to move his special gas around, so I'm looking in places that hold vehicles like that. I'm at a nearby port looking at an empty warehouse that used to ship crates of what I don't know. I looked around and saw nothing. Again, a total failure. Good. I heard something that sounded like laughter but was also scary as I was about to leave. Maybe not such a loss after all. I hid in the shadows to find out where the laughter was coming from. When I did, it surprised me a little. What the heck? I saw 3 teens driving a white van that looked like it had clown symbols on it. The teens, on the other hand, looked like they were in some kind of cult or something because they were all wearing what I thought were modified straight jackets that are used in asylums. 2 of them had weird hair colors, probably from dyeing it, and the other was bald. But what really caught my eye was what they were wearing on their faces. They had put smiles on their faces with paint. He now has a cult. While this thought was going through my mind, one of the Joker cultists spoke. One with very sharp fingers said, "Sure, that's the last one." Another with a small head but a strong body said, "I'm sure, Blade. That was the last of the bombs." Hold on. He just said bombs, right? When I heard, "Blade, talk again," I was about to show myself. Blade asked, "Since when does he want to bomb these places?" He said, "Well, I'm sure he has some kind of plan. I mean, look at how things are. As hard as the heroes try to find him, it's funny that he's always one step ahead of them." "You're right about that, Pinhead," a woman with very pale skin told her. Blade asked Leech, "Do you think anyone is coming?" "No, but I thought I heard something," Leech replied. "I chose to show them my gifts, so I jumped out of the shadows and caught them off guard. At first, they looked surprised, but they soon started laughing." "What made them laugh?" I was going to ask them until I heard something. Bang asterisk bang asterisk bang when I was hit from behind with 3 bullets. 1 hit me in the shoulder and 2 hit me in each leg. I dropped something from my pocket and fell to the ground. I don't know what I dropped, but I hope they didn't notice. I then heard footsteps and more laughter coming towards me. I tried to stay calm. Then I saw 2 more people come up behind me. One had 6 arms and a bandana with a smile stitched on it. He had holsters for handguns on his long body and held 6 revolvers in each hand. He then shot me. They were all different, but one had longer sleeves and a jester's hat with bells on the end of it. "Nice going, 6-shooter, Blade said as he walked up to me, "and not bad, Jester. We would have been in trouble if you hadn't called to say you were coming." "It wasn't a trick," he said, "partner, it was nothing." "Ah, you'll make me blush," Jester said. Leech asked, "But what should we do with Eraserhead here?" "I do," a voice said. Everyone seemed to jump, but they soon calmed down and smiled. What makes them smile? Whose voice was that? During these thoughts, I didn't notice the figure until I saw his feet. When I looked up, my blood ran cold. I saw what looked like a 14-year-old, but I knew that looks can be deceiving. I knew I was looking at the Joker. He smiled with evil intent in his eyes. What did he say? "Well, what do we have here? The famous Eraserhead. I have to say, this is a great situation you found yourself in. I know you have a lot of questions, so pick one." I almost asked him about the bombs, but I held myself back because I was dealing with a psychotic antisocial freak and didn't know what he would do to me. Instead, I asked him the question that was on my mind. I asked, "What are you going to do to me?" When I asked him a question, his smile got bigger, and he grabbed my phone. That made my eyes go wide. My phone was the thing that fell out of my pocket. Of all the things that could have happened, it had to be my phone. This is not good. What is he going to do with that? Blade came up to me and said, "It's really easy. I'm going to send a message. Harley." "Got it, Mr. J," a voice with a higher pitch said. When I turned my head, I saw a woman wearing a red and black outfit that looked like a jester's. She had an oversized mallet over her shoulder and swung it at my head. As it hit my head, I saw tiny black spots dance around my vision and the world started to spin. Blade then cut my stomach with his fingers, and I screamed until he hit me again in the head. Before I passed out, I heard the Joker laugh and the jester bring something that sounded like a box. Then everything went black. From Nemori's point of view, for obvious reasons, I was worried about Ivaza. He hadn't been seen in almost 2 hours, which he hadn't done in ever. I was pacing around the teacher's lounge in Ua, waiting for him with Hizashi, who was President Mike. I thought about calling him, but that never works because he never, ever picks up the phone. Another reason I'm so worried is that I love him. I know he can be hard to reason with, but he has feelings too. Why doesn't he come back already? Midnight, Hisashi said in a loud voice. If you keep hitting that, you might make a hole in the floor. I know, I said, but Ivaza has never been this late before. Do you think he got hurt? He said with eyebrows raised. It's weird, but I think I know why. I think he knows about your, not so little crush on him. Before I could hurt him, my phone vibrated. It was on silent for reasons I don't want to talk about. When I turned it on, I saw Iwaza's phone number and quickly answered it. It was too loud for me to say, "Where are you? When are you coming back?" A voice that was full of sarcasm said, "I'm so sorry, he's a little hung up right now. I'll be happy to take a message for him, though." Who is this? This voice sounds strange to me. I asked. Who are you? An angry voice said, I'm shocked to hear that. You know how popular I am on screen. I mean, I am the smile that makes life worth living. Trendy? What about on TV? The smile? Then it hit me. Every part of my body was screaming bloody murder. I knew I was shaking because I could feel it. I knew right then who I was talking to. I had a chat with the Joker. Iwaza's phone is with him too. Hold on. I yelled at Hisashi, what did you do to him? Well, I can't tell you, but I'll show you where he is, Joker said. Just follow his phone. But don't wait too long, because I have a really big surprise for you. I promise it will go off with a bang. The call ended, but something else appeared. A map of where Iwaza's phone was. I didn't waste any time, so I grabbed Hisashi by the collar of his shirt and dragged him along with me. I hoped we weren't too late. Please yell. Please don't worry. After an hour. We found the signal in an old shipping dock. I was scared because the signal came here, but I couldn't find Ivaza. Mike didn't know what was going on. All he knew was that I got a call from someone who seemed to be Ivaza, but it wasn't him. I screamed, what did you do to him? He did know that something was very wrong, though. Midnight asked in worry, where is he? He said his location was where his phone was. President Mike, Midnight, could you please tell me what's going on? What's going on? Who is Shota? Who did you talk to? I was afraid he would ask those questions, but I didn't have the guts to tell him. As I was about to tell him, I noticed something. It was a line or streak of red something I couldn't place. As I got closer to look at it, I realized it was blood. Oh my god. Is this Shota's blood? What the hell? A scared Mike asked, is this blood? What's going on at midnight? After following the bloody trail to see where it led, I got to the warehouse's front door. There was writing on the doors, thankfully in spray paint, but that didn't make me feel better. I could make out the words, play, and doctor, even though they were hard to read. Play, doctor, what does Joker want to say? I bravely opened the doors to see what was inside. The room was mostly dark, but there was a light hanging in the middle. In the middle of the light, I saw a figure that looked like it was sitting down, but I noticed something else. The figure wore a long scarf. Hurrah! He's here, why doesn't he get up? As I ran toward him, I stopped just 1 foot away. Oh my god! What did that jerk do to him? Shota looked terrible. He had blood in his hair on the side of his head, and his eyes were big, which means he had been hit in the head. His face was painted with a clown nose and a smile, which made it look funny. The worst thing about him was his face. It showed he was in terrible pain. There was also a sign around his neck that said, Hero Pig, what a jerk. Did he mean to be funny? I'll make him laugh while I put my foot up his behind. I took the sign off of his neck, but then I saw that his shirt was open. I would have been excited if I hadn't seen what that sick maniac did. He cut into Iwaza's skin and made a smiley face on his stomach. It looked like something was inside him, but I couldn't hear what it was. As I looked at him, he mumbled something, and I think I heard the word, bomb. Bomb? What is the bomb? There's no bomb here. Mike was about to ask, Midnight, did you fi? But stopped because he looked like he was going to throw up. He then asked me something I didn't fully understand. He asked, why is there a knife on that board? Knife? What knife? What's on the board? What does he mean? I turned the sign over and saw that it did, in fact, have a knife taped to the back of it. It was a Swiss blade. What would Joker do? Then I realized what I was seeing. Play, and Doctor, on the doors, a knife on the back of the sign, and stitches in his stomach. But the worst part was that there was a bomb in his stomach. I didn't know how long we had, but I knew we couldn't waste time. I got his attention by saying, "Mike, get me any heroes and ambulances now." Before he could say, "But," I stopped him. I yelled at him, "God damn it, don't question me right now. Do what I told you to do." He looked shocked, but quickly left. I was now alone with Ivaza and the bomb in his stomach. I took the knife from the side and opened it to see the blade. I was scared that I was going to cut up the man I loved, but I knew I had no choice if the paramedics didn't show up in time. Not at all. That will not happen. Not while I'm watching. The worst part was seeing Iwaza's face light up with pain as he groaned in pain. I put the knife in the small opening in his stomach, where a stitch didn't seem to be sewn on. I then slowly cut the stitches on his stomach, making him bleed. As I kept cutting him, blood soaked my hands. I know it makes Shota feel bad. Hold on there. I threw away the knife and did the worst thing I had to do after cutting his stitches. My hand was covered in blood. I put my hands on Shota's stomach. There was a little more grumbling from him than before. I dug my hands in a little deeper, being careful not to hurt his vital organs, until I felt something. That has to be it. It has to be huge. I carefully took the bomb out of his stomach, being very careful not to hurt him inside. I finally got the bomb out. The bomb won't bother me now. I need to take care of him now. I didn't like how much Iwaza's stomach was bleeding, so I wrapped his scarf around it and put him on the floor. I then looked at the bomb I was holding. It was a small square bomb. I turned it over to see if it had a timer on it, but it didn't. Strange. What's the... I couldn't finish because something jumped out of the box and scared me for a second. It was a little puppet that looked like a jester. I got angry. He finds this amusing? Just wait until I get him. I knew it was time to check on Shota when I heard him cough. I dropped the bomb and knelt down next to him. "Do not shout," I told him. "Please calm down." He whispered, "He's planning something big." I said, "Like all the other bad guys, we'll stop him." In the background, I could hear sirens. He said, "I don't think we can," and his eyes fell. I could feel his heart rate slowing down. "Not at all. Not at all. No, do not leave me." I held on to him tight as he tried not to groan. I began to sob on his shoulder. At first, he pushed back against the hug, but then he slowly gave me a light hug. Pro heroes arrived and turned up the sirens. I didn't mind if they looked at me. I was only interested in Shota's safety. "Please yell. Do not leave me. I love you." Scene change. A hospital. It was so tense that you could cut it with a knife and still not get through it. Many people, including Cameo Woods, Mount Lady, Endeavor, Best Jeanist, Nezu, Cementos, Recovery Girl, Snipe, Blood King, All Might Civilian Form, Powerloader, Destugoro, 13, and more, were there to check on Aizawa. When everyone saw how bad he looked, they almost used their quirks to get him to the hospital right away. He had to go through intensive treatment because of his wounds. Everybody was scared, but Midnight was the most scared. His blood was still on her, and mascara was running down her cheeks. She looked shocked, but she was really planning to do something she might not have wanted to do. "That son of a bitch," Midnight thought as her temper flared. "I'll find him, and when I do, I'll show him how it feels to have his gut cut open." Thoughts were taking over her, and she missed President Mike walking by. When someone tapped her on the shoulder, she jumped. Mike was looking at her with a sad face. He then sat down next to her since she was already there. They just sat there for a second or two before Midnight grabbed Mike and started crying on his shoulder. Mike slowly stroked her hair as she did this. "Why?" she asked. "Why him? Why would Joker do this?" "I don't know," he said in a low voice. "I just don't know." Everyone was upset about how Midnight was feeling. They didn't understand how this could have happened. Nezu, an animal that looks like a mouse and is very smart, walked over to the crying friends. He needs to know what took place. He needed to know what they thought. His words, "Midnight, President Mike," got their attention. "I know this is hard on both of you, but we need to know what happened. How did you know something like this would happen?" They both sighed and looked at each other. They knew this was not going to end well. Back at UA, Midnight started the story with them waiting for him. Then she got the call and learned that Joker had done something to him. When they found him, He was badly hurt and had a bomb in his chest. She then had to play Joker's sick and twisted game until Mike arrived with the ambulance and the heroes. After the story, no one could say anything. They had no idea Joker would do something so crazy. On the other hand, Joker might really be Satan himself. They all said what they thought and were worried about. "My God," said Mount Lady, who looked really shocked, "I'm sorry that happened." Even though they were quiet, Torsionor, Recovery Girl, and Nezu all looked sad and a little scared about what was going to happen. "Who is the Joker?" they both asked at the same time. Blood King said, "That's just messed up. We should have helped him," Cementos said. "What bad guy would do something like that to a hero?" asked Best Jeanist. Powerloader said, "Maybe he's just that crazy." Cameo Woods said, "This crazy person needs to be stopped." Destugoro said, "I agree with you on that. He needs to learn about that every action has consequences." "I'll blow his brains out of his head if I ever see him," Snipe yelled. "That's only if Midnight doesn't get to him first," 13 said heavily. Endeavor said with a huff, "This is sad." Everyone looked down their noses at him. "This villain just got lucky, that's all." Without a doubt, Nezu said, "This so-called villain is the world's most dangerous criminal right now." He crossed his arms and said, "Maybe he is dangerous, but I think that Aizawa should have been cocky." Ask Midnight in a low voice, "What do you mean?" Except for Mike, who was sweating buckets, everyone was lost. From the way she spoke, he knew Endeavor was going to get it, and it wouldn't end well. "Please don't say anything," Mike thought in a sad way. Endeavor said with a haughty tone, "Maybe I wasn't clear. I think Eraserhead was a lousy hero. Relied on his quirk too much. To me he didn't deserve to become a hero." Everyone was shocked. It was already known that he was a jerk, but this was even worse. They were going to tell him off, but Midnight did it first. She put him to sleep with her quirk. He tripped and fell to the floor, lying in a heap. She wasn't done like everyone else thought she was. After that, she did something that made everyone in the room gasp. With a hard kick, she hit Endeavor in the behind. She didn't stop there. She kept kicking him in the behind with her high heels. "Don't ever say that about Shota, to make a point," she said as she stomped her foot hard. She then went back to her seat and sobbed next to Mike, who grabbed her. Nezu went up to Midnight and pawed her leg. When she looked through her teary eyes, she saw Nezu with a sad face. "Midnight," he said slowly. "Words cannot describe what you are feeling. Though I do know this, we will find Joker and make him pay for his crimes. I promise." The hospital doors slammed open just as Midnight was about to speak. This scared the heroes, who thought it was bad guys. But it was actually the police and SWAT who did it. They didn't understand why the police and SWAT were there. "Excuse me, Kenji," the police chief said. "We need to evacuate you all off the premises immediately." Torsionor asked, "What's going on? What's happening?" "It looks like the Joker was here," Kenji said, scaring everyone. Everyone yelled, "What? That's not even the worst part," Kenji said. He also broadcasted a video of Iwasa's condition on every social connections. This stirred the media and they're coming here to make a scoop about this. Everyone was shocked at first, but that shock quickly turned into anger. They already knew Joker was bad, but this was really bad. Then everyone turned to look at Midnight, who looked like she was going to kill someone. She went up to the chief, who tensed up when she saw him, and told him what was on her mind. She asked, "Can I see the video?" Now, he quickly pulled out his phone, watched the video, and then gave it to Midnight. She hit play video. There was nothing on the screen because it was so dark. The screen then went black and then slowly showed a twisted grin. The lips were bright red and looked like they were chapped. The camera then grew bigger and showed the face of the Joker. His face looked like that of a 14-year-old. There was Iwasa behind him. He had bandages all over his body, IVs in his arms, and an oxygen mask on his face. The Joker looked at the camera and seemed to stare at the people watching. He spoke out of nowhere. He said, "Hello, is anyone watching?" With a lot of acting. As the camera on Harley. "It's on Mr. J," said a voiced woman named Harley. He smiled in a strange way and said, "Great, thanks Harley. Hello Late Show lovers and lovers of The Late Show. Tonight I'll tell you a tale about a bat and a scorpion. A bat saves a scorpion from drowning in a river, but only as the bat carries the scorpion from the churning waters, the scorpion stings the bat. In terrible agony, the bat asked, "Why I tried to save you, now we'll both drown," and the scorpion says, "That's the point, sucker." The moral of this story: everyone will die. No matter if they're saved or not, they're going to die anyway. Ha 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 ha. After that, the screen was blank. Video. After the video, everyone in the room was quiet. They had no idea that a 14-year-old was the Joker. Except for Tershanor, everyone looked like they had no idea who this kid was. It looked like the ghost he saw came back to haunt him. He was shaking like there was an earthquake, so everyone saw this. He said, "It can't be," over and over. "All Might," Nezu asked. "Do you know who he is?" And even though his hair was over his eyes, he had a sad frown on his face. His tears shocked everyone when he finally looked up. They didn't understand why he was crying. He was curious about why Joker made him think of someone. "Not here," he said quietly. "I'll tell you, to a lot of people, and news reporters could show up. I'll tell everyone at UA." However, everyone chose to go back to school because they were still interested. Smintos picked up Endeavor and carried him on his back. Everyone then left the hospital through the back door, leaving everyone to wonder. What does All Might have to do with this? That was all that could be seen on the screen. Then there was static, which slowly showed a twisted grin that went across the face. The lips were ruby red and looked like they were chapped. The camera then zoomed out to show the Joker's face, which looked like the face of a 14-year-old. Behind him was Iwaza, who had IVs in his arms and an oxygen mask on his face. The Joker looked at the camera, almost staring at the viewers, and then he spoke. He said with aplomb, "Hello, is anyone watching? Is there a camera on Harley?" "It's on Mr. J," said a voiced woman named Harley. He smiled crookedly and said, "Thank you, Harley, that works great." Hello Late Show fans and Late Show fans. Tonight I'm going to tell you a story about a spider and a bat. A bat saves a scorpion from drowning in a river, but the scorpion stings the bat as it carries the scorpion out of the rough water. While in terrible pain, the bat asked, "Why did I try to save you? Now we'll both drown." The scorpion replied, "That's the point, you jerk. The lesson is that everyone will die. They are going to die anyway, it doesn't matter if they are saved or not." Oh my goodness, that was so funny. The joke was so funny that I laughed out loud. The video stopped while Joker was laughing. The video screen then got bigger and showed a man in a black suit. It looked like he was a news reporter. His face showed worry as he said, "This video was put on the internet minutes ago. And disaster has followed after it. Random explosions coming from different buildings. Riots broke out onto the streets with clown-like villains claiming to be the Joker cult. We know go." Click. That sound was a TV being turned off by remote. In a bar with dim light. The bar in question was where the League of Villains hid. The person who turned it off was Tamura, who is laughing so hard right now. Tamura laughed out loud and said, "Ha ha 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 ha, he said. TTT that he would show his face to the world. But I didn't expect that." He then laughed so hard that he fell to the floor and rolled around. The events shocked Kurogiri, who helped Tamura get up from the ground. He was crazy, but they didn't think he would put a hero down like that. Not only that, but it took skill to make everyone in the city panic and start riots. "Now that's impressive," a huge person said. He wore a red tank top and had blonde hair. He also had an eye that was improved by robots and had a scar around it. Not to mention his fashion sense has a unique sense to him. "I mean purple, ingenious," said a fancy man. He was putting on a velvet top hat with a yellow feather on it. A velvet dress shirt, gloves, a black vest, a bolo tie, and a trench coat were also on him. His face was hidden by a mask that looked a lot like the Cheshire Cat. "Do you really think he's going to kill us?" asked someone else. He wore a dark navy blue shirt with white stripes going down his body. "Oh, just grow a pair already twice," the huge figure said. I can't help it if it's the Joker. Muscular said twice. He's scary. Scarier than Tamura, Muscular asked. Now let's stop calling people names, the fancy figure said. Even though he has committed numerous crimes and murders. Musk said, I'm not insulting him. Just complimenting him is all, Mr. Compress. I said, really, Mr. Compress? Kurogiri spoke up and said, though it makes me wonder. How did he manage to do this? It doesn't matter how he did it. Tamura yelled as he stood up. What matters is that he caused chaos, and boy was it funny. He came out of the shadows and said, well, I see that someone else likes my sense of humor. Everyone was shocked and jumped back, except Tamura, who walked over to him. That was really cool, he said. How you crippled Ezerhead and posted his condition on the internet. Not to mention creating the riots on the streets. That's classic. Joey said, thank you, Handy. Though, aren't you going to introduce me to your new friends? He said, what, oh right. These guys came a little after you came and visited. He took Joker to Twice, who was shaking like a leaf. Twice couldn't help himself because the Joker was about to meet him. The Joker walked slowly around him and looked at him with crazy eyes. So, the Joker said slowly, what's your quirk? The second person asked, www what? Joey asked again, what is your quirk? Oh, my QQ quirk, Twice stuttered. ICC can clone myself AA and others. He said, well, that's interesting. But that might also explains why you have a personality disorder. Thank you. What? Twice asked. How did you? Joker spoke up and said, don't act so surprised. It was clear as day. Now, who's next? Joker walked past Twice, who was still talking, and toward Mr. Compress. Mr. Compress straightened up his suit right away. Who is this guy? Asked the Joker. He certainly has good taste in fashion. He bowed and said, my name is Mr. Compress. And might I say, your taste in fashion is amazing. He waved his hand and said, ah, you mean these old things? They're just hand-me-downs. Really? Mr. Compress asked. I thought that they were tailored. Anyways, Tamura said in response. Let's continue. The interruption made Mr. Compress a little angry, so Tamura led Joker away from him and toward Muscular. Joker gave Muscular a dark smile. Tamura began to say, this is, but he couldn't finish. I already know who his big guy is, the Joker said, making everyone cry. You know me? Muscular asked. He replied, who wouldn't know you? I mean, you're the one who killed the water hose duo. Are you not? At first, Muscular was shocked, but then he smiled. That's strange, Muscular said. Nobody really knows who killed them. More importantly, nobody knows that it was me. How did you figure it out? It was, by your artwork, Joker said with joy. I mean, how you destroyed their bodies, toyed them in the fight, and best of all, killing them slowly and painfully. It takes true devotion to create such a masterpiece. His short speech shocked everyone. They were shocked to see someone dressed as the Joker complimenting someone who looked like Muscular. Someone was shocked at first, but then their face changed into a smug grin. It made him happy to hear that Joker liked him. He was going to thank him when Joker spoke up again. He asked, I wonder what you'll do for a comeback, and then he snapped his fingers. I know, you can kill their child. Wait, said Muscular. They had a child. Yes, they did, Joker replied. Though, do you want to hear the killing joke? What? Asked Muscular with a small smile. They cared more about their hero thing than their own son, Joker said. I mean they chose heroics over their own flesh and blood. What a joke. Ha 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 ha. That jab made Muscular laugh, that's for sure. He laughed like there was no tomorrow before he knew it. They kept going like this until they were out of breath. They were about to talk again when they heard the sound of wood breaking. Everyone looked in the direction of the source. It was Stain, Dobby, and someone else. The person looked a lot like Stain. They dressed like Stain and had purple hair and green turtle-like skin. All of them had weapons in their hands and were looking angry. Stain looked around the room until he found Joker. Angry, He yelled at Joker with his sword raised. Where the fuck is she? What do you mean? Joker asked in a rhetorical way. Dobby said, you know what he means, as flames engulfed his hands. Where is Toga? The lizard growled, where's the girl clown? I'm really sorry, Joker said. But who the fucking hell are you? Spinner told them, my name is Spinner. Stain here is my sensei. He said, well that's interesting. Nice to meet ya. Stain yelled, enough, for the last time. Where is she? I'm right here, Toga said as she came out of the shadows. She was dressed as a jester and holding a big mallet. Everyone looked at her. She said, well, what ya think? Joey said, they're speechless, as he put his arm around Harley. Absolutely speechless. T Toga, Stain mumbled. Is that you? Toga popped the P and said, yep. But you can call me Harley Quinn. There were different thoughts in the room from everyone else. It was Joker who got Toga to work for him that Tamura, Kurogiri, and Stain were thinking about. Double thought about whether he could work for Joker. In his mind, Mr. Compress was wondering why she was dressing that way. She wasn't sure if Spinner was the girl or not. Dobby only thought about one thing, which he quickly said out loud. Why did you make her dress like a clown slut? Said Dobby. He looked like a dead man standing, so everyone looked at him. Then they looked at Joker and Toga to see what they thought. The scars on Joker's face made it hard to tell if he was smiling or not. Toga, on the other hand, looked very bright. She ran up to him with the mallet and swung it to a place where the sun doesn't shine. Dobby's eyes got really big when the mallet hit him and lifted him up about an inch off the ground. He then fell while holding on to his hurt possession in a fertile position. Toga made a threat and said, let's get one thing straight here, Stitches. He did not make me dress as a clown slut, I picked my outfit. So if any one of you cocksuckers have any else to say, what I did to him will look like mercy compared to you. When she made her threat, everyone shivered and covered their private parts. The Joker, on the other hand, was laughing like there was no tomorrow. The whole group looked at him with doubt. When Joker saw this, he started to feel a little better. Heaved out, she's not lying, you know. The last guy who pissed her off had been cut up into pieces and fed to the hyenas. Everyone looked at the two of them blankly. Then there was a deep laugh that woke everyone up. A man's outline showed up in the secret man said, I have to say. To think that the Joker is a 14-year-old boy and is quirkless I might add. It would be too mild to say that everyone was shocked. They were blown away. The Joker, a feared bad guy, didn't have any quirks. After hearing the Joker laugh, everyone thought he was dead. I guess I have to, Joker said. You did some work on me. Though I'm surprised, what gave it away? Really, it was easy, Mystery Man said. It was how you never fought in public and picking out your targets carefully. That's interesting, Mr. Joker began, but then he stopped. I'm sorry, but who are you? Mystery Man came out of the darkness and into the light. I am known to be the leader of the League of Villains. When they saw him, everyone gasped. While he was dressed in a sharp black suit, it was his face that stood out. The top of his face was scarred, and it looked like his eyes and nose were missing. He said, but you can call me All for One, and I do believe we need a well-deserved talk. He said, but you can call me All for One, and I believe we need a well-deserved talk. The room was so tense that everyone could feel it, except for Joker and Toga. While the famous Joker was in the same room, the leader of the League of Villains was also there. Not so good guys prayed to all the gods in the books that this wouldn't go badly. When Joker laughed darkly, it made them scared. Well, it's about time, Joker said in a silly way. I was beginning to think that I would never meet the head honcho of this little group. But I have to admit, that was one hell of entrance. All for One said, you make me feel good. Though, I don't think it was better than your entrances. Everyone looked on in shock as the scene played out in front of them. What they saw was All for One giving praise to the Joker. After getting over his shock, Tamura chose to speak up. He asked, Sensei, why are you here? Originally I was coming here to see how the progress was coming along, the group said. But what did my wondering eyes did appear, was none other than the clown prince of crime himself. So, I had to wait before revealing myself. Kurogiri asked, "Sir, may I? But why does Joker interest you so much?" Kurogiri said something that made everyone else think the same way. No one could figure out why All for One was interested in someone like the Joker. All for One let out a deep, dark laugh, which made everyone shake. When they all looked at him, he had a freaky grin on his scared face. "It's really pretty simple. He interests me," All for One said. "He intrigues me of how he can spread chaos and fear. How he always gets the upper hand. Most importantly, how he does this without a quirk." When he told them why he was interested in the Joker, everyone was shocked. The Joker was a little shocked by this, but his shock quickly turned into a sly grin. He just couldn't help himself. All for One wants to learn his cool house tricks. It was Joker who said, "I'll answer all your questions. Though, to get a better view of it we'll need to go to my place of operation." "Do what you need to do to make it clearer," All for One said. "Wait," Tamura said abruptly. "Can we come too?" "I don't see why not," the Joker told Stain and his friends. "How about you three? Care to join?" The three people were not sure how to answer. There was a crime den they were going to see, and they weren't ready to see what it looked like. But they had to know what it looked like in case Toga went there. Stain and his followers walked toward him and the others. "We'll go, but only for Toga's sake and safety," he said. "Great," laughed Joker happily. "Say Smokey, can your quirk teleport all of us?" "It can," Kurogiri said. "Though where is your base of operation?" I said, "It's on the card," and Joker waved a card at him. Kurogiri fumbled his hands as he tried to catch the card after it hit him in the chest. As he finally caught it, Joker laughed at how silly he was being while trying to catch it. He didn't understand what the directions on the card meant, but he did what they said. He built a portal big enough for everyone to use to get to Joker's hideout. "All aboard," Joker laughed as he walked through the portal, leaving Toga behind. Soon, everyone but Kurogiri and All for One went through the portal. He was about to go in, but Kurogiri stopped him. Kurogiri asked, "Sir, may I? Can we trust this madman?" This question had been on All for One's mind for a long time, and he already had an answer. "Of course we can," All for One said with confidence. "Trust me on this." Before Kurogiri could ask any more questions, All for One walked through the portal. Kurogiri let out a sigh and went through the portal. The door shut quickly after Kurogiri walked through it. Scene change. Jane Fonda. The bad guys had to cover their eyes as they walked out of the portal because of a strange bright light. The light was only there for a minute before it went out. When they could see again, they were shocked, to say the least. The empty carnival mile looked like it was from a horror movie, but it was also full of life. It had a merry-go-round that was broken, a roller coaster that needed to be fixed, and a haunted house that had been left empty. But it was so lively because there were asylum inmates roaming around. "I must say, this spot works really well for him," All for One said. Kurogiri asked, "But why does he have all these prisoners and what for?" "He already has a cult and hired help, so why the need for the mentally ill?" "Well, I thought you might need them," Joker said. When the bad guys jumped and turned around, they saw the Joker right behind them. She was right next to him, so he put his arm around her. The bad guys didn't understand why he found him behind them since he was the first one to go in. He asked, "How the hell did you do that?" "A magician never reveals his tricks, I'll keep you guessing just for kicks," Joker said. "Well, since we're all here why don't we go into my office and talk?" Joker pointed to the scary house as he walked toward it with Toga following behind. The bad guys didn't believe it, but they still followed him. They were surprised to find a nicely decorated hallway when they got inside. After following him to a door with many signs on it, they didn't stop. He opened the door and walked right in. Soon after, the bad guys came along and were surprised to find a simple office room. There was only a swivel chair and a big workbench in the room. Blueprints, papers, and funny jokes were all over the floors. He sat down in the chair after going to it. Toga jumped up on his lap and cuddled up close to him right after he sat down. "You little minx. Sorry about the mess by the way," he said. Now, let's talk. I know that everyone wants to know how I make my special happy gas. They all agree and nod. I have someone very special who takes care of that, he said. There was a knock on the door right then. Joker, sir, a voice that was hard to hear said. The drug is ready. Oh, yes it is, Joker said with joy. Common. There's some people I want to show you, Mustard. When the door opened, a teenager who looked a little older than Joker walked in. He was dressed like any other Japanese schoolboy, but he had a funny bandana on his arm. He also had a shell-shocked World War II helmet and a clown-shaped gas mask on. Mustard, this is the League of Villains. You know, the ones we're working with, he said. League of Villains, meet Mustard. The maker and controller of my gas. Mustard bowed and said, nice to meet you. All for One asked, how did you get to work for someone like the Joker? Mustard said, well, it's a long story. He said, what a story it is. He has a quirk that allows him to create deadly gases, a suitable quirk for a villain. Though he wanted to be a hero and go to UA, but his quirk didn't go so well when it comes to robots. He failed and wasn't even given a chance to go to the support group. He was broken and wanted vengeance, but didn't know how. He met me by accident, or fate if you were to call it, in my little hideout. He decided to sulk where I was currently planning, and when I appeared to him, he freaked out and accidentally used his quirk by creating a deadly mist that made my plans turn into mush. At first, I was going to kill him, but after the little display of his quirk I decided to do something better. I asked him what his dreams were. When he told me he wanted to get revenge on UA, I knew what I had to do. I asked him if he wanted to join me in taking down the heroes and all that they hold dear. He said yes in a heartbeat. He's been creating my laughing gas ever since and finding more ways to create it. The bad guys couldn't say anything. Someone else made the gas for Joker so they wouldn't betray him. Do you have any more questions? Asked the Joker. There was only one left, and it was. Mustard said that some kind of drug was ready, Kurogiri said. What's its purpose? He yelled. What? It's ready. It's finally done. The man replied, yes, it is. She squealed, oh Mr. J, do you know what this means? Joker laughed and said, of course Puddin'. It means the fun just beginning. Joker and Toga laughed hysterically as they spun around in the swivel chair. This made the bad guys very confused. Sorry to bother you, All for One said. Though I'm curious about this drug you highly praise. When Joker stopped spinning, he looked at the bad guys with happy tears in his eyes. The drug, the Joker said, will be the game changer. From Nemori's point of view, the last time he attacked Aizawa was about 2 months ago. After a month, he was better, but I still make him go often to calm down. Also, I moved in with him to help me calm down. I began to have violent mood swings after what happened. I would sometimes go crazy if a lowlife scum talked back to Iwaza or if a normal person talked back to him. Sometimes, if Iwaza didn't answer his phone or showed up late, I would worry a lot about small things. Really, though, if Aizawa gets hurt, I cry a lot. Something else is going on with the nightmares. After I had to take out the bomb that was in Aizawa's stomach, the nightmares started. It began that night and got worse and worse until I couldn't stand to sleep. After hearing that I had mood swings and trouble sleeping, Iwaza talked to me about it and suggested that I move in with him so that he could watch over me and me over him. At first, it was hard to understand why I would begin to scream in the middle of the night or turn into a demon when I was angry while a baby was crying. Iwaza, on the other hand, didn't give up. He was kind to me and helped me through everything. Every time I was upset or had a night terror, he would hold me and stroke my hair, telling me everything would be okay. Things will be fine after that kid is locked up in an asylum. When we talk about that freak, I doubt Toshinori knows who he was before he turned into a crazy clown killer. Even so, the talk we all had with him at UA. Go back in time. On our way to UA, explosions started happening, and bad guys dressed as clowns started causing a lot of damage. A lot of the heroes stayed behind to help order things out. Nezu, Recovery Girl, President Mike, Toshinori, and I were the only ones who made it back. I was glad Endeavor woke up and chose to fight the clown bad guys instead of me. To say the least, This made me very happy. That's what you get for making Shota mad. Now Toshinori, Nezu spoke, which got our attention. I'm going to be frank about this. How do you know the Joker? He turned his back on us, Toshinori. From what I could tell, it looked like a kid getting in trouble with his parents for something. After that, he reached into his pocket for something. He took out what looked like a picture. He gave it to Nezu, who then gave it to everyone else. I saw a 14-year-old kid with green hair and freckles when I got it. Why does he want you to use this? Hold on. Oh my god. A little, Toshinori said, I do know who he was. His name was Izuku Midoriya. And I was the reason he became this monstrosity. When he said that, it made us understand nothing. Toshinori decided to go into more detail when he saw our faces. Toshinori said, it all began when I chased after a sludge villain. I found him trying to use Izuku for some sort of cloaking. Naturally I caught the villain, but he passed out from the sludge. So I decided to wait for him to come again. Once he was awake I asked him if he was alright and signed his notebook for as an apology. When I was about to leave, he latched onto my leg and held onto me as we flew in the sky. Oh my god, I said unexpectedly, shocked. Recovery girl asked, why would he do that? Did you not notice the kid dangling from your leg, said Mike. He said, I'm getting to that. We landed on top of building. He asked me a question that I never thought I would be asked. Nezu asked, what question did he ask you? Toshinori certainly looked unsure. It seemed like he didn't want to talk about it. We weren't ready for what he said next. Is it possible to become a hero without a quirk? Toshinori asked in a sad voice. To put it mildly, we were shocked. It's very rare for a kid without quirks to want to be a hero. It was almost time for Toshinori to cry. And did you know what I told him? I told him no. I said that he needed to dream realistically. It made him cry after he said that. We couldn't say anything else. It broke my heart to tell that to a kid. We didn't know how it hurt Toshinori the most, though. Not for another 5 minutes did he begin to speak again. He then screamed hypocrite at me, said I was like everyone else and ran away. Toshinori told me. I then realized what happened. I crushed his dreams. Before I got a chance to apologize, he ran off. I know what I said was horrible and possible created the worst villain in existence, but I know there must be some sanity left in him. A little part of him trapped, waiting to be saved. We all looked at Toshinori and then back at each other. He was right. We tried to hide the fact that the kid needed therapy. I really want to hurt him, but he needs help so badly. Mike asked, so what do we know? Nezu said, I know what we know. We must train our students even harder. Go back in time. We worked harder on the kids after that meeting than ever before. We worked them so hard that they were about to break. When Aizawa found out about this, he was so angry with his students that I had to stop him. I still remember how Class 1A got out of his work. Let's just say that Class 1A was a strange group of kids. Some of them haven't had much or any experience with people, some are too hyper for Shota's taste, and some really shouldn't be in Class 1A. The Katsuki kid, on the other hand, acts like a younger Endeavor half the time. He seems to be trying to hide his sadness when he talks to that Uraraka kid, though. We're at the USJ right now to teach the kids how to save people. One reason I agree with Aizawa is that he doesn't put too much pressure on himself or the students. Toshinori was supposed to help, but he got lost and is now taking a break in the break room. 13 was describing how dangerous his quirk was when a black hole appeared in the middle. When Aizawa saw this, he took action right away. Aizawa yelled, watch out. These are real villains. 13 went to keep the kids safe, and I went to help him if he needed it. Why are bad guys here? At that very moment, 2 people walked out of the portal. The first one wore all black and had one hand on his face and the other on his arms. There was another one that looked like a butler and seemed to be made of mist. In other words, he made the portal. Hello heroes, the bad guy in the mist said. We are the League of Villains. What the hell is the League of Villains? The bad guy in the hand asked, where's All Might? He was supposed to be here. What are you going to do? Aizawa asked. Oh, Eraserhead here, the hand villain said without much thought. I thought you were dead after that stunt Joker pulled. Hold on. What did he say? Someone said, I mean, you're kind of a loser if a clown got the drop on you. Then again, you are just an extra. When I heard that, I stopped moving. I was sure I saw the jerk smirking behind that hand of his. I was so mad that I could barely stand and I wanted to kill the jerk right then and there. When I spoke back, it was hard for me to stay calm. I yelled, what the hell is your plan? Oh, Midnight's here too, he said with an evil grin. How did it feel to cut open Eraserhead's stomach? Did it feel good? When he said that, we both stopped moving. Heroes and some police officers are the only ones who know what happened. What the hell did he know? I yelled at him, how the fairy fuck do you know that? He told me, he said. I yelled, WHO. Why I did, someone spoke up. When the voice spoke, we stopped moving. Someone in what I think was a purple zoot suit and hat stood behind them. Yes, it was the Joker. As I tried to rush him, my mind seemed to be at rest, but Shota's scarf stopped me. It was hard for me to get the clown. Well, that wasn't very exciting, laughed the Joker. By the way, how's the stomach, Eraserhead? When I fought against the restraints even more, Shota's scarf wrapped around me even more. He tried to calm me down by pulling me close and putting his arms around me. Why are you all here? Aizawa asked as he tried to hold me back. Isn't it clear? Asked the Joker. We're here to kill All Might, the symbol of peace, and to show the world that one bad day reduces the sanest man alive to lunacy. I mean, just look at these poor souls. When he was done with that sentence, the mist villain opened a big doorway and men in straitjackets came out. Even though I knew these men were clearly from a mental hospital, it was the way they looked that made me angry. Everyone in the prison had ghostly pale skin, wide, bloodshot eyes, and hair that looked a little green, no matter how different they were. There was something about the way they all smiled with light red lips that made me not want to talk to them. It's almost like, sorry, oh no. Isn't it amazing? Joker asked with joy. Just a little alteration to my happy gas recipe and bad a boom. You get an army of maniacs with yours truly. We couldn't say anything. He had made his potion even more dangerous than it was before. At first, it was just a gas that makes people laugh so hard that they die. It looks like it could now be turned into a drug that makes people into the Joker. In the voice of an announcer, Joker said, and now we present the contender for All Might's death, Nomu. At that very moment, a huge black figure stepped out of the portal. I was as big as All Might, and it didn't look at all like a person. It had teeth in a long beak-like mouth that showed off its brain. In general, it meant trouble. Hand Villain was excited and said, let the game begin. All of the crazy people charged at us and the students. I felt scared when I thought I was having a night terror. I felt arms around me, and Shota was standing right there with me. Please pay close attention, he said seriously. We need to protect the students. And if we go down together. When he said those words, I got more brave. I looked at the crowd of crazy people coming at me with newfound confidence and got ready to attack. As they got closer, Shota jumped and hit 3 of them with his scarf. When I got to them, I jumped down and used my knockout gas to stop them. We all go down together if we fall. Shut up. I love you. Third-person view. Those in Class 1A ran to the gates, and 13 led them to the exit. He was sure that the crazy people would do terrible things to the students if they got hold of them. The kids had to leave this place as soon as possible. Everyone in the class looked scared because Joker, the clown prince of crime, was here and wanted to kill All Might. Every student was imagining the worst that could happen. There were only 2 students who had different ideas. The names of them were Katsuki and Todoroki. Todoroki was trying to make sense of things. He tried to figure out what Joker meant by one bad day. A little bit of what he said made sense. Because of what his father did to them, his family went through hell. What he went through when he was young is even worse. His mother got so angry that she poured boiling water in his left eye, which scared him. After that, his dad put his mom in the hospital and told him never to call her again. He has kept his anger toward his father inside ever since, and he swore he would never use his left side so he wouldn't turn out like his dad. On the other hand, Katsuki was trying to face the truth. He knew Izuku was the Joker after seeing the video of the Joker. He thought about how he tried to go to the police station and tell them what he knew, but he stopped himself. When he told the police who the Joker was or that no one could help him with his problem, he would sound crazy. He tried to think of every possible way to solve the Joker-Izuku problem. But whenever he thought about it, he always came back to having to deal with Izuku by himself. As they got close to the gates, a black portal appeared and stopped them. They were stuck. Kurogiri got off the portal and spoke to them. "I'm really sorry," Kurogiri said. "But I'm afraid that I can't let you leave." Katsuki ran at 13 and tried to attack him before 13 could do anything. Kurogiri made a portal right in front of Katsuki when she was almost a foot away from him. Katsuki went through it. Then he built a big portal so 13 and the students could get to all the different parts of the USJ. Before he heard the gate being smashed and saw a student with engine legs running away, Kurogiri thought he was done with them all. That made him a little worried, and he had to tell Tamura right away. He made a portal and went to where Tamura and Joker were. Tamura asked, "How did it go?" "Everything went well," Kurogiri said. "However, one of the students have gotten away." "What?" Tamura threw up. "One escaped. How could you let this happen?" He said, "Well, that's too bad. They won't get to see the show." Ha 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 ha. These two people looked at him with interested eyes. Joker saw this and let out a sigh. Joker asked, "Don't you see what's going on? The brats are all locked in a life or death situation with killer psychos running around. Midnight and Eraserhead are down there fight a one-sided battle with 13 transported to God knows where. And if All Might gets here, he won't make it in time to save everyone." This is what Tamura and Kurogiri thought about. The battle between Midnight and Eraserhead was mostly one-sided, which was mostly true. As soon as they kill one crazy person, 2 or 4 more would appear. They may be skilled and have good quirks, but they don't have enough people. For the kids, it was also a matter of life or death because they had to fight crazy psychos in different rescue zones. They most likely don't know how to fight bad guys, let alone psychopaths. Even if All Might got here, someone would still get hurt or killed. They were pleasantly surprised by this. "I have to say, you make a strong case," Kurogiri said, surprised. Tamura smiled and said, "I knew that attacking with you was the best idea." They said nice things about Joker, who laughed it off and looked around the zones. He was looking for possible bad guys. He meant to show that everyone can go crazy after one bad day. And what better way than to use students from the UA? He looked at the ones he thought had potential, but they were all dull. They might have cool quirks, but he was really looking for a poor soul that he could change to look like himself. When Joker thought no one was good enough, he caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of his eye. As he looked toward the area of the landslide, he saw beautiful chunks of ice. "Well, what do we have here?" Joker asked, which caught the attention of both Tamura and Kurogiri. "What's going on over there?" "I do believe that one of the students is defending himself from the maniacs," he said. Joker thought about it for a while and then told Kurogiri to do something. Joker asked, "Can you teleport me to that place?" "I can," Kurogiri replied. "But why would you want to do that?" Joker said in a mysterious way, "I think this is going to get interesting." Kurogiri was unsure at first, but he did what was asked of him anyway. If someone wanted to question the Joker, they would have to question his sanity. Even if they were in trouble, he could always make a big portal that would take him back to them. He made a hole in the wall that the Joker jumped through with a loud, "Wee." No matter what he planned, he hoped he had something else in mind. Scene change. Todoroki's view from the landslide zone. We were split up in different rescue zones after Katsuki tried to pull off the stunt. There were crazy people waiting for us inside, and I was the only one who made it to the landslide zone. At first, it was hard, but things quickly turned out well for me. The hard part was trying to get them to answer questions. That became hard very quickly. Either they yelled nonsense or images that were upsetting. A crazy person yelled, "Kneel before me. I am the queen bee." "That's nice, right? I skinned a cat once," a crazy person said. "I wore its skin like a mask." Why would someone do that? Someone else yelled, "He's everywhere. He's everywhere." "Yes, I like little dolls," said one more. "They don't squeal like little girls." Okay, that's not right. This may not have been the best idea, but it was the only one we had. I had to find out something. How did Joker do that? Where is Joker's hideout? What is Joker's next plan, and when is it? I was looking for a stable prisoner to question when I saw one trying to sneak up on me. When he tried to move, I stopped him and walked up to him. I saw that he wasn't quite like the others as I walked toward him. He did not have pale skin, bloodshot eyes, hair that was a little green, or a crazy smile. It was a little dark on him, and his hair was dark blonde. He had a calm, crazy look in his eyes that looked like coal. He didn't have a shirt on and his pants looked like they were too big for him. His skin seemed to bother me. He looked like he cut his skin for no reason. I asked him what his name was. I asked him, "Who are you?" He asked me, "Does it matter to you who I am?" My voice got stronger as I asked, "Who are you?" Trying to play the hero, he said, "If you must know, my name is Anonymousu." Okay, we're making progress. I asked him, "How did Joker do that?" Someone unknown asked me, "Don't you want to know about my grades?" I said, "I don't want to know." He said in a calm voice, "I think you do, Todoroki." I got cold. There were a lot of questions in my head. How in the world did he know my name? I grabbed his neck and held it tough. He had to look at me because I made him. I asked him, "How the hell do you know my name?" "It's my quirk," Anonymousu said. "It allows me to look at a person and help free them of their miserable lives." Hold on. What? You don't seem to understand. Let me explain my marks, Anonymousu said, pointing to his scars. The cross on my forearm are Sukune and Mocha. They were a couple living in poverty. I liberated them so they didn't wallow in filth anymore. This little on my chest was Ruby. She lost her mother when she was young and lived with strangers. I liberated her so she can be with her mother again. The mark on my side was Macaw. She always went to the library because she had no one else to be with. I liberated her so she doesn't live a boring life. All these marks were from people who needed their lives to be liberated from. The thing I was holding scared me as I looked at it. He killed people because their lives were different from his. As I gripped his neck tighter, my anger began to boil. I knew he was angry, but this was really bad. He must have felt something because he began to giggle softly. His eyes hurt me so much. He said, "I can save you too," and I looked at him with doubt. What the hell did he mean? I stopped him with a hard punch to the face. "I can set you free for what your father did." "What, your mother?" The ice broke off of him, and he fell to the ground barely conscious. It looked like it was too hard. No one said anything bad about my mom, and I mean no one. My father abused her, so she was a victim. I screamed, "Don't ever talk about her. You think it's funny." "I do," a voice laughed. Something hit the right side of my head before I could turn around. When I was hit, I lost my balance and fell away from Anonymousu's body. I found the person who hit me as I tried to get my balance back and clear my head. The Joker was there with a lead pipe in his hand. He attacked me without warning and seemed to appear out of nowhere. "I have to admit, I never thought I'd see Endeavor's son here," he said. "Then again, he's trying to be the number one hero." As I looked at him, I tried to figure out what was weak about him. It looked like Joker saw this and laughed at me. "You must have a lot of question for me," he stated. "Well, aren't you going to ask me any of your questions?" My last question was hard for me to remember, but I tried to find it. Then it hit me all of a sudden. We were the only ones left standing. I think about how good Joker is at fighting more and more every time I look at him. Even though I thought he was cocky, he looked like he had never fought anyone before. It's likely that Anonymousu was down and the other psychos were frozen. I asked him, "Do you think you can take me on?" He looked at me for a moment and then laughed a little. After that, it turned into a full-on laugh. He laughed for a minute and then looked at me with crazy eyes. "Of course," he replied. "The man threw a card at me before I could do anything. That is, until it cut my right arm. I thought he was crazy." As I stared in shock, I screamed as I realized a playing card that didn't look dangerous was stuck in my arm. "What the heck?" he asked me, "isn't it funny?" Then he threw more cards at me, but this time I was ready. To protect myself from the razor card attack, I built an ice wall. It was awful when the cards hit the wall. There was an attack for about 1 minute before it stopped. I can hear Joker laughing again at that point. What makes him laugh this time? I was standing on my ice wall when all of a sudden there was an explosion that shook me back. I hit the ground on my back, and everything spun around me. When I stood back up, I saw Joker playing with what looked like marbles. He threw marbles at me and asked, "You want to play?" I swerved as tiny explosions shot by me. I knew I couldn't avoid and block the marbles that were going off. I had to quickly come up with a plan. He was always one step ahead of me when I tried to freeze him. He would either avoid me or throw more marbles at me. He laughed and said, "Oh boy. This is fun. I'm so glad I found you here." God was on my side while I tried to come up with a plan. As Joker looked for more marbles, he seemed to run out. This made it possible for me to grab him by the jacket. At first, he looked shocked, but then he began to smile. He laughed and said, "Sue, you caught me. What ya gonna do now?" My head hurt right away, before I could say anything. As many colorful dots flew into my field of vision, it became hard to focus. I lost my hold on him and fell to my knees. The food in my stomach was making me sick, and I couldn't hold back my hunger. As I hit the ground on my side, I threw up. Even though I tried to stand up, I slowly lost consciousness. What took place? As I slipped away, I saw Joker take out what looked like a card. Now I knew it was the same card that was stuck in my arm. Joker knew I wouldn't avoid that card because I thought it was safe. He must have put something poisonous in it. I was sure I heard him smile at me before I passed out. After that, everything went dark. Kurogiri was unsure at first, but he did what was asked of him anyway. If someone wanted to question the Joker, they would have to question his sanity. Even if they were in trouble, he could always make a big portal that would take him back to them. He made a hole in the wall that the Joker jumped through with a loud, "Wee." No matter what he planned, he hoped he had something else in mind. He couldn't help but feel like something was going to happen as the portal shut. He looked back at the battlefield, where Eraserhead and Midnight were still fighting. It looked like the fight would never end. That's how it looked because prisoners who were knocked out would get back up and fight. For some reason, it looked like a trick candle. They'd get back up if you knocked them out. If you think about it, it was almost funny. "Isn't this quite the show?" Kurogiri asked out of the blue. Kurogiri was worried because Tamura didn't answer. He knew that when he didn't answer, it was because he was thinking or getting angry in his head. He heard Tamura mumbling under his breath and saw a dark shadow over his head. He only hoped Tamura wouldn't act hastily. Tamura, who was angry, asked, "Why isn't he here yet?" Kurogiri replied, "If you mean All Might, then I don't know." Tamura couldn't wait any longer. There was no doubt that he had to kill All Might. So he could end the group of people who worship him, he had to kill him. This was a great chance for him, but he missed it because the only reason he attacked the USJ wasn't here. That made me angry. He asked himself, what can we do to get All Might's attention? How do we get his attention? He thought about ways to get his attention. His thoughts made him angry, though, as he watched the two professional heroes fight below. They were making noise, and he needed to think. Ways he planned to teach them. Tamura then had a thought. He should have killed one of the professional heroes here if he couldn't kill All Might now. It made sense. All Might would show up if you killed one of the heroes. There was nothing going on when he looked at Nomu. That was about to be fixed. It was, "Numu," Tamura said. "Grab one of the heroes." As soon as he said that, Nomu ran quickly toward them. At the same time, Eraserhead and Midnight were fighting and quickly losing strength. It was because the crazy people seemed to get the message. Because that would be the answer, they didn't seem to feel any pain. That they would always get back up made Eraserhead so mad that he wanted to hit them in the head with a rock. The thing coming from behind him seemed to sneak up on him, but Midnight saw it. She saw how fast it was going after Aizawa and couldn't let him get hurt again. She knew that the next thing she did was dangerous. She didn't mind, though, if it meant saving Aizawa. He moved out of the way, and she took his place. Aizawa tripped and fell across the field. The dust made it hard for him to see. When he slowly stood up again, he saw Numu holding Midnight. He was shocked and scared at the same time. He tried to grab her with his scarves, but he felt like he had something heavy on him. Then he fell to the ground and was held back by the crazy people he was fighting. They made him kneel up straight while holding him in place. They held his arms down, pushed him, and pulled his hair back. He was stuck and couldn't move because 25 crazy people were holding him down. Well, that was a surprise, Tamura said. But very satisfying to say the least. The tiger hissed, "When I get out of this." "I don't think so," Tamura said in response. "I think you'll cooperate, unless you want her to die in the most painful way imaginable." He looked at Midnight and then back at Tamura. He did not want to hurt Midnight. He chose to take a chance and bargain. He told her, "Leave her out of this. Take me instead. I've already be a victim, why not go at me again?" Even though Tamura clearly wasn't interested in his idea, he chose to play along. That little bit of hope he has was something he wanted to play with and crush into dust. But Midnight cut him off before he could answer. She yelled, "I'm not scared of you, creep. I don't think you're special. Just some wannabe trying to get the spotlight." That made Tamura look very angry. He knew she was drawing him in, and it worked. He only wanted Numu to tear her apart, but that wouldn't make him happy. He meant to hurt her and make her feel less beautiful. He then saw his secret weapon. They didn't know about his quirk. "It was Numu," Tamura said. "Hold her in place." Then Numu held Midnight in both arms while she tried to use her quirk on the monster. It looked like her quirk couldn't hurt it in any way. It looked like she didn't notice Tamura walk up to her until he was only half a foot away. An itchiness spread across her right cheek and face when she looked up. She thought it was pretty stupid that Tamura had hit her. Before she could say what she thought, her face started to burn. She screamed because her face hurt. "There's beauty in my quirk," Tamura said with a cruel grin. "Whatever I touch with my hand make things disintegrate." Aizawa gasped in shock as he watched Midnight's face change into something spooky. As the blood ran down her neck, her right cheek slowly showed off her scars. There looked like 5 lines going across her face, and blood was slowly pouring out of the wounds. But the worst thing Aizawa saw was her bloody tears as she cried. When crazy people saw him trying to get away, they surrounded him and beat him up. Tamura said in a casual way, "You didn't like that demonstration. Then you're not going to like this." He tried to stop his quirk from hurting others, but he couldn't because dust and dirt were getting in his eyes. Then Tamura put one hand on top of Midnight's stomach. He slowly pulled the hand down and grabbed her costume, ripping it. While Midnight gasped, her toned stomach was showing. She could feel air on her skin. As Tamura's quirk began to slowly break down Midnight's skin, he chose to cut her stomach. As her stomach muscles began to show, blood poured down to her legs. As blood began to pool around her, she screamed, "Bloody murder," and ran around. Everything Aizawa tried to do to help her failed because the psychos were too strong for her. Tamura saw this and went to talk to him. "Eraserhead, do you feel helpless?" asked Tamura. He growled, "When I get out of this, you'll be in a world of pain." Toku asked, "You want to know something funny?" She didn't matter anyway. The words that Aizawa heard from Tamura make his eyes become very big. Tamura decided to keep thinking even though he could tell Aizawa was shocked. Tomaru said, "She was just a pawn. Just another character in your hero life that you manipulated, lied to. Think about it, she worthless. Like most women who just occupy space. She deserves to die." When he said those last few words, Aizawa turned red. The level of his anger got so high that he didn't even know it. The crazy people were thrown off of him and hit the ground hard. He screamed. Then he brought Tamura close to him and grabbed him with his scarves. He yelled at Tamura, "Shut your fucking mouth, you vermin," as he threw him across the field. Numu dropped Midnight and went to help Aizawa, as if he knew his master was in trouble. Aizawa slid past it as it got close, making a cloud of dust to hide his tracks. Asahi went over to Midnight, who was crying like a baby on the ground. He picked her up slowly from the ground. He tore off some of his scarves to show how hurt he was that she was hurt. Her eyes were drooping, which made her speech less clear. Aizawa was scared as he tried to keep her safe. "Stay with me, Nimari," Aizawa begged, almost crying. "Why'd you do it? I would have been fine. Please don't do this to me." Until he got into trouble, he was going to put her somewhere safe. The crazy people surrounded him as he got close to the door. With Nimari hurt in his arms, he couldn't fight. It looked like they were all ready to attack when there was a crash. The entrance to the USJ was broken open by a strong force. A dark shape with a strong body emerged from the dust. All Might yelled, "Do not fear. For I am here." All Might yelled, "Do not fear. For I am here." All Might was the hero who smiled and helped. He didn't smile, though. He had a mean look on his face. He was mad at these so-called bad guys for trying to attack his students, but he was also upset with himself. He knew he shouldn't have patrolled too much, but there was no other way for him to find the kid. She was having her period, and Fate was being a mean girl. When he found the boy, he was attacking the USJ with his students inside. He knew it wasn't the right time to talk to the boy who had turned into a clown. He had to help Aizawa with his problem right now. He ran over and knocked out the bad guys standing next to him who looked really weird. All Might asked, "What's going on? Why do these villains look different?" "Those aren't bad guys," Aizawa yelled in anger. "They're the criminally insane." All Might then looked at their clothes, but then they saw something even worse. All of them looked a lot like the Joker. If you're wondering about how they looked, it was Joker's new poison, Aizawa told All Might, which caught them off guard. He seemed to create a drug that allows people to be as crazy and psychotic as him. "Don't worry, All Might said, but an angry Aizawa cut him off. He yelled, "No, I don't need help. I need to get her out of here. She needs help." All Might was about to answer back when he heard someone coming up behind them. When he saw what they looked like, he was about to attack. One girl looked like a frog, and the other was a little boy with purple balls on his head. It was Tsuyu and Mineta. They ran to find All Might and Aizawa. Tsuyu asked, "Aizawa-sensei, are you there?" But stopped when she saw Midnight. He started to ramble and asked, "Is she?" "No, she's not dead," Aizawa said, and the kids let out a happy sigh. "But right now she needs medical attention. Let us help you, Aizawa-sensei," Tsuyu told the two heroes, which shocked them. "We'll bring her to safety. You two need to stop them." Midnight made Aizawa worry, but he knew she was right. They had to quickly stop this. He understood what he needed to do. As Tsuyu and Mineta tried to hold Midnight steady in their arms, Aizawa gave her to them. The two heroes were left at the entrance to take Midnight until help arrived. Aizawa was ready to go back into battle and teach that hand punch a lesson as soon as they left. A huge hand on his shoulder stopped him before he could jump away. He looked at All Might, who gave him a questioning look. All Might asked, "But what about the other students?" Aizawa was angry and asked, "What do you mean?" "What I mean is that they won't need help," All Might asked. Young Tsuyu and Mineta were lucky enough, but what about the other students? Shouldn't they need help? He sighed as he thought about this. Even though he really wanted to beat up that bad kid, his students were more important to him. He turned around and saw All Might. "They have this thing that looks like it could be almost as strong as you," Aizawa said seriously. All Might said, "I'll remember that eraser. Anything else?" "One more thing," Aizawa said. "If you see a punk with a hand on his face, do me a favor and punch him with all your strength." All Might was shocked by that idea, but he didn't know why. He didn't say anything as he walked to the middle of the USJ. As he went, he knocked out any prisoners who were in the way. For one very important reason, he couldn't let them get away. They had to be checked to see what drug was in their bodies. When he got to the middle of the USJ, he saw two bad guys sitting on a small hill. One was the one Aizawa was talking about, and the other looked like mist. They looked at him, which means they noticed him. "All Might," Tamura said with a cruel smile. "It's so nice of you to finally join us. What kept you?" Yes, I agree, Kurogiri said in a worried but mocking voice. Don't you know that things like these things could happen? All Might yelled. What's your game, villains? Tomaru said, it's pretty easy. We're here to kill you. Numu, kill All Might. As soon as he yelled those words, a black something with buffs jumped out of the ground and stood in front of All Might. It tried to hit All Might, but All Might dove out of the way as he hit Numu. It got hit in the gut by a punch that was 25% of his strength. It didn't work, though, because its stomach took the hit and got better. To get back at All Might, it kicked him in the chest and threw him a foot away. He heard the bad guy laughing while his hands were covered. This Numu was made to beat you, Tamura said with joy. His quirk is shock absorption and can take 100% of you power. Numu, attack. Numu screamed as it charged All Might with its fists raised. It crossed to the left and right, hitting All Might in the chin. To defend itself, All Might hit it 3 times in the gut and hit it in the head with a haymaker. Numu tried to punch All Might in the gut without getting scared. All Might blocked the fist's blow before it could do any harm. Its beak hit the ground with a loud crunch when he punched it. Then it sprung its fist out of All Might's grasp and hit All Might hard in the chin. All Might took a few steps back to get some space between himself and the monster. After that, he didn't think twice and decided to fight the Numu with his fists. Their fight was full of punches, and the USJ shook from the weight of their blows. All Might knew that time was running out and that the fight had to end quickly. All Might thought as he punched, how can I beat this monster? That villain said it could take 100% of my power and had shock absorption. Wait. That's it. It yelled, if it could take 100%, then let's see if it could take 110%. As All Might sped up his punches. On the first try, the sudden chance didn't seem to bother the Numu. Its punches were not coming as fast as they used to, so it moved less quickly over time. When Tamura saw this, he was mad about the change. He yelled, didn't you hear me? It can take you power. You said it had shock absorption, not nullification, All Might yelled as he threw a wall of punches. Shock absorption absorbs a hit, but with the more hits it gets inflicted with, the less it helps. Numu kept getting hit by All Might punches even though the force was slowly becoming too much for it to handle. Following this, All Might threw his fist back and held his power to finish the Numu. Have you heard what we say? All Might asked, getting ready to end the sentence. Go beyond, plus ultra. All Might yelled those words and then hit the Numu in the chin with a huge uppercut. At first, it sent a gust of wind around the two of them, and then it launched the Numu into the air and toward the ceiling of the USJ. As it flew through the air, it broke through the ceiling. There was a moment of silence during which All Might could be heard panting. His full strength had been used to throw more than 200 punches. He looked at the bad guys, who looked like they were shocked. Not even more than Tamura. He was shocked and mad at the same time. It shocked him that All Might was able to defeat the Numu, and it made him mad that he was tricked into killing All Might. Why you couldn't have defeated my Numu, Tamura yelled out of anger. Why you must cheated. You cheated. I played my cards close to the bets, All Might said with a grin. A voice laughed and said, you can't do that when one of those cards is the Joker. All Might turned around and saw the Joker with a strange smile on his face. All Might knew that he used to be Izuku Midoriya, and he thought it was his duty to help and change him. All Might was about to attack him when he saw that Joker Izuku had a gun in his hand. And it was pointed at Shoto Todoroki, a student at the UA who was not awake. All Might was frozen because he didn't know what to do. He dealt with a lot of bad guys, but this one man was the worst. A man named All for one, and it looked like Joker was standing right next to him. The Joker laughed in front of him, as if he could feel his fear. Joker teased, oh, don't act so surprised and smiley. It was bound to happen anyways. I knew something like this was going to happen, but I never imagined grabbing a student of a famous hero. The Joker's words made All Might freeze up. Joker knew he was going to stop the Numu and try to catch the League of Villains. To get what he wanted, Joker would sneak up on a student and take them hostage while he searched for the Numu. There was something All Might had to think about, but before he could say anything, the backup showed up. The Joker and the other bad guys saw this. It looks like we need to cut our date short, huh? Joker asked as he put Todoroki in a headlock. Kurogiri, if you be so kind. After that, Kurogiri made a portal and left with Tamura. Joker came in, but All Might got a warning from him before he left. Your time is almost up, Smiley, Joker said in a mean voice. And pretty soon, you'll be dead. He then left as the portal shut behind him, leaving All Might alone. Fear made him stand there still, and he couldn't move. He knew he had done bad things before, but this was probably the worst one he had ever done. As more heroes arrived to catch the villains who looked like Jokers, they saw that All Might was standing still. Some people went up to him and asked what was wrong, but they weren't ready for his answer. They found out that the Joker had taken Shoto Todoroki hostage. View from Todoroki. It hurt and spun in my head at the same time. It was hard for me to see clearly, so I couldn't tell where I was. I only knew it was dark and that there was a hangover lamp above my head for light. I was also aware that I was sitting down and that my costume had been taken away. I tried to figure out how I got here, but then it hit me. I remember now, when I fought the Joker, he tricked me and took me hostage. It's likely that he wants something. I won't give it to him. I tried to get up but saw that I was stuck in the chair and couldn't. As I grunted back, pain shot through my body. What the? I closed my eyes to see better. After my eyes got better, I looked at my body. I saw that chains were around my waist and barbed wires were around my wrists and ankles. Okay, why? What Joker finds funny makes me not laugh. I'll use my quirk to make fun of him. I began to use my quirk to get out of here and find a way to get away. I found out I couldn't. I got a little scared and tried again, but the outcome was the same. I was going crazy now. What did the Joker do to me? I used a recipe that the Yakuza were going to use, a funny voice said. Did you know that they were going to use this to make quirks disappear? Now that's funny, wouldn't you say, Todoroki? I quickly turned around and saw the Joker standing right in front of me. What the hell is going on? He came in, but I didn't see or hear him. Who the hell is this person? I saw that Joker looked different. He wasn't wearing his purple suit from the USJ. Instead, he was dressed in a pink Mad Doctor's coat that looked like a cartoon. He wore big black rubber gloves and a headband with a small magnifying glass on top of his right eye. He was still making up like a clown. He must have known I was looking at him because he smiled. He leaned in and said, I see that the patient is up. Now that you are awake, the fun can begin. I asked him, what the hell are you talking about? To buy some time. Well, how else am I going to help you see the world? I asked. I'm going to help you see for what the world truly is. This made me think. When Joker first kidnapped me, I thought it was because he wanted answers or information about Ua. I was surprised when he told me he wanted me to see the world as it really is. I'm going through all the possible answers to what he meant. My mind kept going back to why. The thought hit me like a semi-truck. He's going to try to drive me crazy. I see that finally got it, Joker said with a sneer. With such a stone-cold personality, you really have a hard time putting on a poker face. Then again, it's not like I'm the one to talk right. You'll fail, I told her firmly. With a smirk on his face, Joker looked at me like I was crazy. Joker replied with a laugh in his voice, ooh. Why do you think I'll fail? I told myself, because I can handle the pain. Whatever you throw at me, whatever you cut me, whatever you do period, I'll take it. With all of his scars, Joker looked at me with what I thought was a blank face. I was about to say something else when I heard him laugh. I thought I had him. It started out as a somber sound that got higher and higher until it turned into a screeching laugh. I felt chills run down my spine as his laughter echoed off the walls of the room. As he wiped away his imagined tears, he seemed to calm down. You think that I'm gonna physically torture you, I said. I'm going to do something much more painful. Joker left the light and went into the dark before I could ask. I couldn't see what he was doing but could hear what was going on. The sounds I thought were wheels on a cart were small squeaks. Something came toward the light after a while. It was a round board with a complicated black and white spiral on it. It was on a cart, and what looked like lamps were pointing at it. What is that? Someone behind me said, "No, I bet you're wondering what this is." I jerked back when I saw him putting his hand on my shoulder. "What the hell does he do?" He went to the wheel and said, "This will make you into yours truly. You're in for a hell of a ride." Someone stuck something in my neck, and I could feel it. He laughed as he turned the wheel. As they flickered quickly past, the lamps at the bottom of the spiral looked like they were coming to life. No matter what Joker hit me with, it did something. My mind was going around very quickly. I couldn't even think because it was spinning so fast. My stomach was turning and shaking, which made me want to throw up my lunch. I looked away from the spinning wheel to try to figure out what was wrong, but what I saw was scary. Joker changed into a version of himself that was 7 feet tall. His greasy face turned dry and cracked, and his chin and nose got long and pointy. That smile of Joker's was so big that it almost split his head in half. His lips disappeared, and his teeth turned a light yellow color and became long and sharp like shark teeth. But his eyes were the worst part. He had bloodshot eyes, and his pupils were tiny red dots. He laughed, and his eyes looked like they could cut right through my soul. Now the sound of his laughter was like 100 mirrors breaking. The evil Joker laughed at me and said, "I know what happened to you today. I know everything that happened to you." The room began to change after that. It was getting lighter and lighter until there was nothing left. I was floating in the empty space. I was stuck in the chair until it broke. I then fell to the bottom of the dark hole. I did everything I could to keep from falling. I landed on a wooden floor before I knew it. When I woke up, I was in a traditional Japanese-style dojo. I slowly got up. The place was on fire for some reason. "Shoto!" yelled a voice from the devil behind me. When I turned around, all I saw was a figure that shivered. Oh, holy God, it was my dad Endeavor, but it didn't look like him. His skin was a dark red color that looked like leather, and he had 2 devil horns on his forehead. He had flames all over his body. He was staring at me with eyes that looked like fiery fireballs. "It's for Shoto," he said with a sneer. "Show me what you got." I knew what he was going to do right away. My father rushed at me before I could even defend myself. After he punched me in the stomach, I passed out and lost all my air. After that, he kicked me so hard that I was thrown across the room. It was hard for me to get up. I was thrown to the ceiling by the front of my shirt when I finally got up. As the earth pulled me down, I felt like someone was punching me in the face, which made me do a backflip by accident. It was a big thud when I hit the ground. I heard a growl and saw him being mean to me when I looked up. "You're weak," he told her. "Just like your mother." I could feel myself getting mad. They didn't have the right to say that to my face, real or not. He changed forms before I could do anything. An evil version of Endeavor wasn't there. Instead, there was a woman with long white hair that went past her shoulders. Her eyes were light gray, and her skin looked like fresh snow. She was dressed in a long white dress that reached her feet. When I saw her, I lost my mind. This woman was someone I knew. This was my mom. The Joker is really making people feel sad. She began to smile slowly when she looked at me. If she hadn't changed slowly, my heart would have been beating fast. She changed from a white dress to a long, straight jacket. Her eyes turned into pitch black holes and her hair got longer. The worst thing about her was her smile. It turned more evil, almost like the Joker's smile. Oh my God. Then I saw that her hand, which looked more like a claw, was slowly rising into the air. The mother of mine scratches the left side of my face out of the blue. I was shocked at first, but it quickly turned into pain. It hurt to touch my skin and felt like it was melting away. It was getting worse, so I screamed. "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! Oh my God, stop it!" Like my prayers had come true, the pain stopped, and I fell to the floor. Even though it hurt, I could handle it. I tried everything but couldn't muster the strength to do it. As I started to lose consciousness, I could see less clearly. I saw the Joker standing over me before I passed out. After that, everything went dark. View from a third party. The Joker was standing over Todoroki's dead body. He had blood on his left side and was sweating on his right. It was clear to Joker that this was going to be one of his best works yet. Toga's voice rang through the room before he could take a moment to admire his work. "Ooh, Mr. J," she sang, "come take a break and relax with me. Please." Joker laughed at what she was doing. From the start, he knew that getting her to help him was a great idea. He has been very good to Toga as a servant, and even more. They have worked together on crimes, plans, and even his hobby, which she helps him with. Joker chose to give Laurel and Hardy one of his many masterpieces to work on. He left the room, leaving Todoroki tired both mentally and physically. The Joker went to his office, which was also his planning room. She was sitting on his desk when he opened the door. Even though she wasn't wearing makeup or a hat, she was still dressed up. He walked up to her and gave her a quick kiss on the lips. When Joker kissed Toga on the lips, she laughed. When her favorite clown kissed her, she always laughed. She asked, "So did it work, Mr. J?" "Oh, that worked great, Toga," laughed Joker. "And soon, we'll have an army of former UA students to use to topple the foundations of heroics." As Joker and Toga looked at a big board on the wall, they both laughed out loud. There were pictures of different UA students all over it, along with short descriptions of what they could do. One picture, though, stood out from the rest. A picture of a girl with black hair pulled back into a ponytail was in the middle. It said, "Next," on a big dart that was pierced through the girl's picture. Her name was Momo Yaoyorozu.